Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Londonderry Town Council meeting, December 18th, 2023. First of all, happy Hanukkah to everybody. Hanukkah has passed. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and let's get on with this evening. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing, as is our tradition. We have a moment of silence tonight. Councilor Combs.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to take a moment of silence for all first responders and all electrical crews restoring power across the state, Massachusetts, and Connecticut today. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. First order of business under public comment is Chief Bernard. Chief Bernard, the floor is yours.
It is mine. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I try to make this as brief as possible, but no promises. It's hot in here. The humidity is getting to my hair, as you can tell. The struggle is real. We will pick up where we left off last time.
Let the record reflect, we're going to keep the chief under 5 minutes.
This ain't gonna happen. So, exciting stuff today. I am beyond proud to stand here. Actually, it's perfect timing in front of the Budget Committee, too. Members of the Town Council and the town leadership. I want to announce some promotions that we have made within our organization, your police department. As you guys can imagine, anytime that you're doing promotions with employees, the employees that we breed, the ones that we train and hire, the ones that we recruit, it's very competitive. We pride ourselves on giving you folks, the citizens of our community who pay us to do a great job. We are to give you the best, and that's what we have done. We had a selection process for the rank of lieutenant and for the rank of sergeant. I won't get into the boredom with you folks. This is one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make in the last year and a half. Sometimes they're pretty easy. This one was the hardest decision I've ever had to waver in my own brain. 3 days with the input from many members of our command staff and just timing in my own brain for it to settle. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring you up these two fine gentlemen that we have just promoted. I'm going to give you a brief rundown on both of them. If I could have Ryan McLean come up here, please, and AJ Marciano, please stand to my left. Sergeant McLean has been a police officer since 2012, having served in 2 other police departments before he made his trip to Londonderry. Ryan McLean is a local resident who has a great young family, who came to us with a vast amount of experience, being a sergeant at his prior department. Now, for those of you who don't know, when you do have rank somewhere else, it's hard to leave that. It means you got to start all over. You got to compete. You got to work hard. You got to do the right thing all the time. You have to learn the Londonderry way, which is no motto. It's a way of life for these men and women that serve in our PD. Ryan McLean was chosen 1 out of 8 to be the next lieutenant for our police department. Ryan was an FTO. He was on our SWAT team, still is. Ryan is a true professional in policing. I am proud to announce that we appointed Ryan to lieutenant effective yesterday. Sorry, my back's here. Next is AJ Marciano. AJ Marciano has been a police officer since 2013. AJ came to us with a stint with New Hampshire State Police. Much like Sergeant McLean, he has done the right thing. He leads by example. He works really hard. He too embodies the Londonderry way. And again, these men have to compete with every other person for a promotion. And I will share this with you, not to get emotional, but just to let you know how important these things are to us as a command staff and an organization. This may sound a little cheesy to some. I realize that every single man or woman that we promote has somebody at home supporting them. You guys hear this all the time from police and fire, as you all support your spouses at home too. When these men or women leave for the day of their interview for their promotions, they're often giving a hug and a kiss goodbye, tell them they look great. I hope you get it. We're proud of you no matter what. The kids run up to them. They hug their leg. They hug their neck, and they say, Daddy, we wish you get it. We hope you get it. You can only promote one. So as you can imagine, on the flip side of these things, there are 7 families who are disappointed. I don't like telling people they're not getting promoted. It's one of the worst parts of the job, but it's a necessity. AJ Marciano has been on the SOU team. He was an FTO. He's currently serving in our training coordinator role alongside Sergeant Halleck, Lieutenant Tufel, and Captain O'Donohue. To be in the presence of those men and that leadership of that division is impressive. Some of the best. He's going to be holding the rank of sergeant effective January 7th, most likely going to watch the midnight shift, along with Lieutenant McLean. Why I share these things with you is because I want you guys to know it's not as simple as you pick the favorite, you pick the guy with the most degrees. These are hard decisions. I'm proud to have these 2 men stand before all of you today. Very proud. Gentlemen, this is the members of the Budget Committee and our Town Council, our 2 newest promotions.
Congratulations, sir. Congratulations.
Brian, congratulations.
All of you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, LT.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Art.
You guys all line up together. When I call your name forward, take one step forward, okay? To keep this thing moving, I'm going to try to do this as briefly as I can. We often talk about our reputation. You guys have heard me say this countless times. I just shared this with you earlier before we started our meeting. Town Manager Mike Malaguti has had firsthand experience in experiencing this with us. Members of the council who have supported your police department for many years know this. Members of the community behind me know this. We still recruit some of the best that this state has to offer. It's nothing that I have done, and I have said that many times. This is the culture that has been bred into us for 20, 23, 25 years from some of us command staff members. They all have different reasons why they chose to work in your community to serve you folks. To my left right here is Mr. Tony Sasanko. Tony was born in Uganda. He immigrated to the United States in 8th grade. He grew up in Stamford, Connecticut, attended high school, joined the Marine Corps, served in Afghanistan and Iraq. Tony is still an active duty Marine Corps Reserves. He's currently a gunnery sergeant. He's a graduate of the University of Connecticut, a bachelor's degree in general studies. He worked for the Bedford Police Department, where he spent the last 6.5 years of his career. Tony is very passionate about serving and being a member of the community which he serves. Having friends over at that organization, they told me he's the mayor of Bedford. Let me tell you folks, that's a good reputation to have, because you could be called a lot worse than that. This man is known for his community service, his charisma, his charm, and his dedication to serve. If you can't tell that by the man who's still serving in the United States Marine Corps, that's pretty impressive. Tony chose us. We gratefully accepted your inquiry to join our team. I am beyond thrilled and happy to have you serve as one of the newest members of this police department. Thank you, Chief. I really am. Thank you. We'll go all the way down to the end. Cameron Holdsworth, please step forward. Cameron Holdsworth is another certified police officer who grew up in Pelham, graduated from Bishop Girton. Cameron was also a graduate of Rivier University. Someone said you were quite the soccer player. Likes to have fun rolling on the ground in jiu-jitsu, holds some high rank. I don't want to embarrass you, but apparently that's a big deal. He got his bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He currently serves in the Army National Guard. He's a second lieutenant based out of Portsmouth. For those of you who don't know, he had the longest hiring process I think we've ever had anyone go through, because he was in OCS school for 4 months, 3?
4 months.
So while in our process, as you can imagine, he's a young man, the family, He has to go do that. He's gonna leave an organization to come work here. That's a long time. But we knew his commitment to come here, his commitment to serve, he's exactly what we pride ourselves on to give you folks as Londonderry taxpayers, citizens, our community leaders. Cameron and Tony Sasanko are gonna start their FTO period over the next couple weeks when they're done their in-house training. Cameron, again, thank you for choosing Londonderry Police Department. I'm honored, I'm humbled, and I'm proud to have you serve with the men and women of Londonderry PD.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, for the next two, Michael Wisbowski. Michael was from Methuen. He's attending Salem State University. Michael is also a specialist in U.S. Army Reserves. Michael is currently, well, he was, because not anymore. Today, you're an officer of Londonderry PD. He was an apprentice mechanic. Michael, too, you can tell, a service. We don't just seek out military people, they seek us out. They love structure, they love discipline, they like being the best of the best. I don't know why he picked us, but we love to have him too. Michael will be attending the academy on January 8th to attend the 195 session of the full-time police academy, where he will miss us. He's gonna hate making his bed. He's not gonna love getting yelled at every day. But when he gets back, he'll join the ranks of the current FTOs and begin his training. So, like I've said to the others, Michael, thank you for choosing us. We are happy to have you. We're honored to have you. So thank you and good luck to you too. All right. Last but not least, actually no, we have two more. Sorry. We have you and one other. This is Dakota Shamil. I always screw it up, don't I? Camille. Got you. This is Dakota. Dakota grew up in Goffstown. Attended Cushing Academy. Went to play baseball at Southern New Hampshire University. He also played baseball for High Point Rockers, which is an MLB partner league in North Carolina. We stole him from FedEx. That'll teach them to speed through our no trucking areas. So every time we get a complaint from FedEx, we're gonna go get one of their employees.
Is he all about winning the Old Home Day softball tournament now?
He might. It's a big deal. Fire department hates losing. We'll get into it later. So Dakota, I can share with you, he had options too. The other organization that he was in the process with called me, and I can't say here on live TV and in public what this chief said to me, but they don't like the fact that he was their #1 pick and he chose us over them. I can tell you that that is not an easy decision. It's not one that I would want to make, but let me tell you this, all four of you. This organization picked me back in 2001. I owe this town more than I could ever repay. I hope that is the same for you four too. I'm happy you're here. I'm proud that you're going to be working with the men and women of the PD. Thank you for choosing Londonderry. Now, I need water. And there's probably some impatient folks back here. I'm kind of trying to figure out how to introduce the 5th officer because apparently he didn't follow the directions and supposed to be here with them. And I'm kind of embarrassed to say he's not in the room at the moment. But because today was his first day, I'm gonna assume that he's young and doesn't know any better. So I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. If you guys can entertain me for like 30 seconds, please. I'm assuming that he's outside because he was late and he's embarrassed to come in here. So if he is, welcome to day one. Just, you guys don't mind, real quick?
Go ahead.
Sure. 1 second.
Yeah, he had water in his basement.
To what?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is weird to tell you.
Recruit him from the dog park.
This is Officer Rue. Now, Officer Rue's got almost 9 weeks of experience. Listen.
Name and address for the record, please.
So, I'm serious. Officer Rue is gonna be a legend in the town of Londonderry. And why is that? Because Rue, little do you know, he is gonna be the most popular animal ever in this town. Because Rue is our first ever Londonderry PD community comfort dog. Oh, let's hear it again. So what does that mean? Before anybody asks me, no, he got it through volunteers and donations. This is my surprise for all of you, because you guys all support the men and women of this PD every single day. We felt as though we are one of the only organizations in the state that doesn't have a comfort dog. Can someone else hold us? I'm really hot. Anybody wanna see? So, this is Officer Rue, as I said. He is a Bernedoodle. A Bernedoodle? Yep, he doesn't shed. If you guys don't know, I don't like dark hair all over me. So,
Competing interests.
keeping in mind that people's allergies and such, I felt as though it was important. The organization has asked us to get on board with this program for some years. It's no secret that I had said no originally. Last couple weeks, last month or so, I had a conversation with the town manager. I'm like, I got this crazy idea. I'm going to tell you right now, if it wasn't for the support of our town manager, and I mean this, sir, with 100%, as direct as I can say it, I, on behalf of the men and women of the PD, knowing what this dog is going to do to help people in a time of crisis, victims of our community, moments of sadness, thank you so much for giving us the green light to do this. You could have said no. You could have confirmed that I was crazy, but you didn't.
You already knew that.
I appreciate you so much giving everybody in our community this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Ted, it's $5 a minute.
Revenue generator.
We
So-
do have to pay for this.
So just real quick, so I just want to say that Rue was donated to us by a member of our community who said, I think it's an outstanding idea, let me help. Knowing that, look what it's doing right now. I mean, it's a big deal, and I'm proud to say that a lot of people gave me input. We talked about it collectively. Much like these gentlemen here, this dog had other options. Little does he know he is going to be a Londonderry legend. I'm not kidding. Rue is going to have his own bank account set up for donations. We already have, I don't want to say publicly yet, but I will put it all out eventually. We have a dog food company that's going to pay for his food for the life of him. We have a local veterinarian in town who's going to take care of us tremendously. We've got a groomer in town who's going to take care of him and make his hair look really nice. We're going to be working on with the Londonderry Police Association. They're going to manage his account. So if people want to make donations to Rue to spoil him some more, they can. We're going to be putting a dog bed out in front of the police department lobby by the Christmas tree. What great timing to support your new puppy, with treats and toys. So if anybody has anything they want to stop by all means, please do. And again, I want to say to all of you that I think this is an outstanding opportunity given where we are in the holiday season. Given that the holiday season is often a time where people suffer from mental health issues the most, where people find that the long, dark days are depressing and sad. We all recognize that. And us as an organization, we want to help people through moments when we can. So we believe that Rue is going to be a legend comfort dog. So with that, I think I've taken up way too much time.
Can we have the four new officers come through, please?
Please, if you guys would make your rounds and say hello.
Importantly, well, welcome, Rue.
Oh, God.
Would you like your dog?
Congratulations.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Please don't run against me. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Thank you.
We haven't had very confident.
Oh, I forgot about that.
All right, Fire Chief, did you have something you wanted to add this evening? You had asked for time.
I mean, I might as well sit down after that. It's all fun and games until I start donating some cattle and some goats.
If he wants a Dalmatian, say no.
By the way, Kim, his hair is sticking up a little bit.
Haircut tomorrow at 4:30.
Are you going to the same groomer the dog is?
All right,
You think I'm kidding about the goats? I mean,
Chief, let's go.
well, Londonderry Fire, couple command updates. The first one being the emergency management update with the storm that we just had. The final briefing that went out happened at 1:30 p.m. this afternoon, and essentially it reported that the winds are dying down, as are the rains, so we're through the storm. And we had 8 citizens affected power-wise, according to Eversource. So all in all, we made through the storm pretty well. We did experience roadway flooding in all the normal areas, like Young Road and 102, Parmenter at Nashua Road, Triangle Mobile. But other than that, we're doing okay. The next big one, I-93 northbound lane closures started this evening at 7 p.m. this evening for the Exit 4A project. So they have to install some girders for the bridge. During this time, there's going to be a closure in the northbound lanes from today until Friday, starting at 7 p.m. every evening, running until 5 a.m. the following day. The traffic is going to merge at about mile marker 11 into one lane, and then it's going to be rerouted up over the new Exit 4 off-ramp and back down. So just please use caution to the taxpayers when driving because it is a lane change. A week ago today, our Medic 4 was involved in a motor vehicle accident at the corner of Litchfield Road and Mammoth Road. The members were responding to a medical emergency in the north end of town and were hit by a car coming from Litchfield Road into Mammoth Road. There were no injuries for the members or for the driver of the POV. However, during this time, the town of Londonderry was down to 1 ambulance out of the 4. We had 1 ambulance in service for the 27,000 residents. So that was a problem. Luckily, we've been able to get it back in service with minor cosmetic damage. But if you see Medic 4 rolling around, it looks like a city ambulance right now. But it runs just fine. And we do appreciate it. I got so many communications from the citizens of the community reaching out, making sure that the guys are okay. So we appreciate that. Hiring update. Our roster is almost filled. When the new leadership team took over in September, we had 6 open positions. We have since filled 4 of the 6 positions, with 2 positions remaining. Of those 2 positions that remain, we have conditional offers married to both of those. So what that means is those 2 positions have bodies married to them, but these members are just going through the background process. So we're very close to filling the roster. And then the final one, if anyone is in need or knows somebody in need of a Christmas tree, please reach out to the fire department and we will see that those people get taken care of. This is a donation that was brought to my attention by the chairman through the Lions Club. So they have some trees available. No questions asked. The fire department will get these trees to our families that need them. And that's all I have for public comment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Chief. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we move to any further public comment, at our last meeting, when we ended the meeting, we talked about it, we had our new tax rate. Our new tax rate is $15.65. What we had said at the meeting was we were going to do some due diligence and do some understanding of where the revenue goes. So the finance director worked over the last couple of weeks on a couple of actuals and hypotheticals. And what we did was we kind of looked at, what would happen if we had not done the revaluation, what we'd done with the valuation, and really get an idea of where the money goes. And it turned out, none of us actually expected what I'm going to tell you. What's interesting about it is that percentage of money goes to different places. So if you look at, your tax bill, which I got mine today, it will say that municipal government is 22.17%. So municipal government is what we do here at the council and everything. That actually went down about 0.3% from the year before. So it actually went down in the amount of revenue we take from the total pot for municipal government. But what's really interesting about it is when we got into this, the county taxes, the amount of money we send to the county, went up 12.5%. So the county's demanding 12.5% more revenue. State education, and that total is $477,000. The state revenue for state education is $1,725,000, and it's up 32.4%. So the state end went up 32.4%. So you look at these and you say, okay, we're all looking at our tax bills going, we think we're towing the line pretty hard here in town. The total municipal budget went up 1.15% of what we're using of revenue, $248,000. The local school went up $1,382,000, or 2.18%, compared to the 12 and 32. So what does this mean? It means that 60% of the increase, or 47 cents per thousand, 60% of the increase went to county and state. So you keep hearing us talk all the time about sending our information to DRA. The Department of Revenue makes these decisions based on the requests of other areas. What the legislature is doing, what the county executives are doing. We only control the parts that only went up 1% and 2%. Theirs went up entirely more than that. Our tax rate for the town, we added 5 cents per thousand. So out of the 79 cents that we went up on the tax rate, 5 cents on the town side, or 7% of the total bill. And then the rest of it's the school. So when you're looking at your taxes and everything, understand, look at the recent court case where they said we're underfunding education. I don't know what that's going to mean. I'm sure it doesn't mean it's going to go down, but it already went up 32.4% that we're sending to the state. So we're going to continue to hold things as hard as we can here. As an example, on the town side, we took $700,000 off in a bond.
Correct.
And $1 million got added on to our medical insurance. Remember everybody talked about deregulation? Everything this country's deregulated has gone up. So, to answer some of the questions that are out there, we're going to continue to hold the line here and try to do the best we can and hold things and continue to drive more revenue. But we can't do anything about what is out of our control. So, any questions on the tax rate? So, with that, public comment is open. Yes, sir?
Dennis Martin, 182 Pillsbury Road, Londonderry, New Hampshire. Before I get into talking about the taxes, I don't have a dog.
Do you need to spend time with Rue?
No, I do have a dog. I actually do have a dog. Also, I wanted to thank, some as you know, I'm the organizer for the Blues Festival every year. And I'd like to thank the town for letting us do it every year. Last year, the 9th annual was the biggest one I had. We had close to 400 people show up. And we probably raised around $2,000, $2,500 and the money goes to veterans. 100% of it goes to veterans. It's done through the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, which they're all veterans and combat vets. And again, I want to thank you. We're going to do the 10th. I've been told I can get the town common, and so keep that open for me for the next 25 years. When I saw the tax bill, I know the rate has gone down, but the value of the houses were jumped, right? My understanding. And when that happens, that hurts people like me. I'm on a fixed income. Soon, my wife will retire, and we'll both be on a fixed income. And it's getting to a point where a lot of people in my same position will have to move out of the town because they can't afford the taxes. No matter what you say, what's gone up and down, the bottom line, all people see is high taxes. That's what they see. Why we get, my tax in the last 6 months jumped up over $500. You know, I'm sitting at the local Dunkin' Donuts a lot of the times talking to the average guy that doesn't come here. First, I always tell them, if you got a problem with the taxes, then come here and say something. Don't just whine and complain about it, but say something. But it's very disconcerting to see what's going to happen with me in about 5 years from now with this taxes. I thought also we were supposed to only do taxes every 5 years, not every 2 years now, is it?
Do you want me to explain why we changed?
Well, let me explain what I think and what a lot of people think. A lot of people think it was done because you guys or the town knew the value of the houses were going to go up. And you were trying to, it became a money grab for more taxes. That's what people think.
Dennis, if I could figure that out, I'd be, and those kinds of things, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be in the Bahamas.
Well, I'm just saying.
I'm not that smart.
But that's what they feel. I'm out there in the community all the time talking to people, and they, like I said, the average Joe that drinks coffee is saying, why is the taxes going up? Why is the value of my house going up? My value of my house that I've been valuated at is certainly not worth what I could get for it.
So let me explain to you why we made the change. Minimum, we have to do it for 5 years. So we were going along and we were doing it for 5 years. And right now, we're in a evaluation based on the methodology that the state gives us, is we're at about 94% total valuation of the town. Now, we have to land, by law, somewhere between 90 and 110%. That's the law. So when our residential value back, tax base, our value of our residential homes, drops below 90%, the commercial properties, which don't fluctuate as much, file abatements. When they file those abatements and we challenge them and go to court, and our total valuation as a town is under 90%, we lose every time. And we wind up giving more money to the commercial base. So what we were advised by a number of people who do this for a living is if you can stay above 90%, you can keep that balance of residential and commercial. Because in this state, there's only one tax rate. Now, the legislature could change that and have a tax rate for commercial and a tax rate for residential, but there's only one. So what happens is if we lose those cases, more money's got to come out of the residential end. So we actually did it to protect the residential payers.
Okay. Well, when I called the town and asked them why the taxes went up, they said there was a bunch of different reasons and they wouldn't give it to me. And that was at the clerk's office. So a lot of people don't know that, John. They don't. They don't understand that. And matter of fact, quite frankly, what you said to me is a little confusing.
It's very confusing.
And it makes me nervous. Like people who are retiring, how are they going to be able to live here if the taxes keep going crazy? How?
So here's what we've been talking about for the last 2 months. All right, and I've lifted the limit. All right, what we've been talking about for the last 2 months is we have two options. 88% of what we have in our budget is people and benefits and all the things that it takes to support people. So we went up 1%. Which service do I cut? I'm only 22% of it. Which service do we do without? Because basically it takes 5 things to run the town, right? You want your police to be trained good and show up and do their job. You want your fire department to be well equipped. We're an aging community. We want them to be able to come and save lives and put out fires, be well trained. We want the roads plowed and maintained. Keep the kids safe in school. And pick up the trash. I don't know which area to cut, because it doesn't leave me any. And I'm not saying I'll ask anybody. If anybody's got an idea, hey, we're all in. But what we continue to do constantly is try to drive revenue into the airport area and into the Woodmont area and keep it out of the center of town to support these services.
What is the highest budget in this town? What is the highest budget for any of the, is it the school?
Ballpark, it takes about $130 million to run the town.
Right.
88 million of it is the schools.
And why is that?
So that's
I'm just asking a simple question.
So I mean that's a
Why
great
is that?
question, and they're having their budget hearings and tomorrow, and you should go ask them. I mean, they have I don't want to speak for them because they're a separate form of government, and I don't understand how they work exactly, but that's a question for them.
So if that budget is affecting my taxes, if that budget is affecting the taxes of the whole town, why doesn't the town council have control over that? You
Because
don't have control over that?
We're a town charter SB2 town. There's only, I think it's only, I mean, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's only Manchester that has control over the school budget.
I think there's two others.
Rochester?
Rochester and.
So there's two, you have to be a city,
cities.
and and there's only 2 in the state that do.
Is that because they have a mayor versus a
It's a
an
city
alderman?
form of government,
They
yeah.
actually have a special RSA for each of those cities authorizing that.
So, yeah, I mean, these are all good questions, and they're valid questions. So 73.4% of all of the money that we have allocated for taxes is for education.
And so the town, don't we vote in a budget every year? Like, we go to the town, we go to the vote, and we vote for budgets, right?
So we
The
don't-
Town people, the people like me can vote yes or no or whatever, right?
Right, we don't do zero budgeting anymore. So the school changed about 18 years ago to something called Senate Bill 2, in which they operate under default budgeting and with a deliberative session. And about 10 years ago, the town voted to change the charter to be an SB2 form of government and have a deliberative session. So we don't do zero budgeting anymore. We work off so you have to come in with 2 budgets. You come in with a default budget, which is calculated by rules that the state gives us that says this is how you will calculate your budget. And we also have a budget submitted by the town council. I think 10 out of the last 10 years, the town council submitted a budget lower than default. So lower than what the state required.
So if that budget that you guys propose gets voted in and it goes over, then it goes to default? Is that my understanding? Then it'd go to the default?
Yeah,
No.
let's
Right.
say the budget's $1 million.
Yeah.
And the town council proposed 1.5 million. And the voters said, no, we're not giving you 1.5 million. It automatically becomes $1 million.
Oh, okay. All right.
Very frankly, the legislature needs to clean this whole SB2 thing up. It's all very confusing. Unless you do it all the time, you don't understand it. It's not fair to the common taxpayer, to be perfectly honest.
Well, you see what my point is then. The people, the average Joe, like, the other day I was just sitting around having coffee and people were like, why does it go up tremendously? And they get, and people are not happy. If anybody's happy about their tax bill, they're lying to you.
Hey, I've got mine right here. Mine went up $700.
Yeah.
Invite me to coffee. I'll do my best to explain it to
Okay,
you.
Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock, Dunkin' Donuts, right where the BP gas station. I'd love you to come down and talk to some of these guys because
Yeah,
they
happy to
talk
do it.
about stuff that I don't think they know what they're talking about. So,
Well, I mean, and this is not easy stuff. It really isn't.
yeah. Okay.
Thank you for bringing the question, though.
Did that generally answer your?
No, I just want my taxes to go down.
No,
I don't care. That's all I want is to go down.
Oh, I mean,
I want to be able to stay here for years. I hope to die in the house I live in, where I'll be buried. Well, I'm a veteran, so I can be buried in New Hampshire, but I plan on being buried here in London area. you know? And I moved here for a few reasons, but one of the reasons I came to New Hampshire is because I'm from Massachusetts, and you know what taxes are like down there like. It's crazy. So I moved up here, and of course, you know, we weren't dealing with it just seems extreme from the time I first started paying taxes on a house to where it's at now. It's, you know, it's at a place where I just don't know, anybody over 65 or 70 years old is gonna be able to, if this keeps going the way it is, it's just, how are they gonna stay here? How are they gonna live here? You know,
I'm getting
people
an
feel,
argument to us.
sometimes people feel they're being forced out of this town because of the taxes.
And I can tell you that we're holding the line as hard as we can and bringing in revenue as fast as we can.
Okay, well, thank you.
Excuse, Ms. Martin, real quick. I just want to say thank you for what you're doing for the veterans. I also want to say thank you for your service as well.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
Hey, guys, I asked you for a couple of things I want to print up tonight, the votes from last year. Did you
Yes.
guys remember to get those for me?
I believe just bear with me a moment.
They're in my,
Packet?
they're in the full packet?
I have it here.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, so, I mean, so those are all the things that were voted on last year. So folks, we actually brought along with us the votes from last year's and everything that was voted yes on. I mean, so people talk about their taxes going up, and I'm not doing this to be sarcastic. If you vote yes, your taxes are gonna go up. I mean, it's just that simple.
John, here.
Yeah, so anyone else for public comment?
Can I just say something really quick?
Can-
So,
Go ahead.
sorry. So there's 3 forms of government, just so everyone knows. There's schools, and then there's the city, and then there's also the library that has its own separate budget and legislation. Right. Sorry, town. So the library is also a part of that as well. Yes.
So the easiest way to understand is there's municipal, school, and that the municipal government funds the third form of government, which is the library.
Thank you.
So, thank you for that. So again, public comment?
Marge Bedoy, 189 Litchfield Road. I just wanted to speak regarding the electronic sign that's proposed. I think that's an unnecessary expense when we have a perfectly good one practically across the street. And when that was presented to us, it was promoted as something that all entities within the town could share the use of with a rotating message. So it's actually curious why we aren't using it up till now, but I think that serves the need, and we don't need to spend the money.
Thank you. Dennis, if you could just, if we could let the other folks. Do it from here? No, well, I'm just gonna try to let the other folks. Is that okay? I'm happy to hear you again, but just let, yes?
Hi, Megan Donovan, 45 Chase Road. I had some questions about the policies of the council and the budget committee. I couldn't find them online, so I just wanted to come here and ask if you have a social media policy in place where you have members of the council or committee representing themselves as members of the budget committee or the council and discussing matters on social media that have been addressed and are being addressed during meetings. I just feel like it's not an appropriate forum. There was a recent media post that a budget committee member posted, and it had some misleading information and some untrue information. And so it just seems like there should be something in place to stop that. And I did want to just provide clarification on that, if that's something that you have.
So the Attorney General has spoken on this on various occasions across several different questions around email, around social media and things like that. The Attorney General constantly cautions all the time to all elected officials that remember, you're elected. You're viewed as elected 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's how the people view you. You should be careful what you say. You should be careful what mediums you use. You should make sure your information is accurate. With that said, the Attorney General has also stated you have freedom of speech. And just because you're an elected official doesn't mean you can't have separate freedom of speech.
Right.
And that is more or less what the Attorney General has said. We don't necessarily, we have ethics codes, we have a lot of other
codes and regulations and everything else.
Absolutely.
But I don't believe we specifically speak to the behavior on social media that I'm aware of.
That's
Can you-
precisely correct.
So
Okay.
we're what's called a Dillon rule state, which means that we're not a home rule state. We can't make up a rule that's any stronger than what the state has.
Okay.
So we more or less follow what the Attorney General's office advises.
Okay,
And I don't know if it's rule or law with them, but
Right.
it's usually what they
so
advise.
it is through this, what the state would be?
Generally,
For
that's the way.
Attorney
That's
General?
what we've seen in the past.
Okay.
And I'm sorry if I'm not answering your question
No,
completely.
I tried my due diligence to kind of look it up to see. I did look at the ethics code and such. I was just concerned that this particular post that was on, the person that made the comment had some misleading information, and they were representing themselves as a member of the budget committee, and they addressed it as a member of the budget committee, and it wasn't accurate information, and I just wanted to know which way to go to repute the information that was said.
I can't speak for the budget committee, but I would hope that if a town councilor was putting out a post with information that wasn't correct, that someone would contact the chairperson of that committee and inform them, and that chairperson would act within their committee.
Okay, so with the budget committee, it is Patrick?
Yes.
Okay,
But that being said, that we don't have a policy on, about concerning social media, nor
Okay.
can we, apparently, according to the Dillon rules, right? So there's little that a chair could do to restrict their members from commenting on social media.
Other than
Okay.
say, please try to,
right.
please-
So,
I would say the best that the chairperson could probably do is encourage them possibly, if the information is wrong, encourage them to make a correction.
well, it's more misleading information. I just want to clarify that it seems like there is it's against the library. I do work at the library. I'm the head of circulation services. I've worked at the library for over 18 years. I've been here for a long time. I've seen a lot of things go through. I've started very low on the ladder. But it was mentioned that when someone commented on the budget and raises, which is being addressed, it was asked to be brought to the trustees, and that information's being addressed later today by Aaron of what they said. But this is, directly called out the library director and assistant director based on what the raises would be, an 8 and 12% raise, and that the average is $87,000 for a year for a library director. That isn't true information necessarily, because it doesn't take into consideration the positions where the education and the experience and hours worked. So if you have a librarian who is a library director that only has a certificate, they don't have the education, and they only work 12 hours a week, that's not the same as someone who has a master's degree in library science. And so it's not a fair comparison. And yes, sorry.
So we're going to have a budget workshop later.
Yeah,
So I asked the HR director,
Yep.
after hearing about this, to go out and survey what the actual numbers are.
perfect.
So
I just,
happy to discuss it during the workshop.
that is great. I just wanted to have clarification on it.
Absolutely.
So
And
that's
we
perfect.
Have
Thank
it
you.
right here. She did the legwork on it, and we have all the numbers.
That's great. Thank you so much.
You're
That's what I was looking to get.
You're very welcome.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? I'm going to wrap things up by 8 o'clock, so if you're coming up, come on up.
Hello, my name is Erica Lowy. I live at 18 Lancaster Drive. I apologize. I know this was primarily addressed at the last town council meeting, but I couldn't make it, and I really wanted to make sure this went on the record to the budget committee. As a tax-paying citizen of Londonderry with 2 young kids in the school district, I just wanted to be really clear that I support the proposed budget for the library, and I support the joining of the library to GMILCs. I think that's a phenomenal opportunity for our town and for everybody, not just me, not just people with kids, but everybody, the entire breadth of the town. Having lived in other places that do have consortiums and have an interconnected library district, it's amazing. And I think it would be phenomenal for our town. So please, I would really love to see that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else for public comment? Have your name and address, young man?
Put my cheaters on here, hold on. Daniel Bouchard, 8 O'Connell Drive. I had to write it all down because I got a lot. So bear with me, don't cut me off, all right? First of all, I want to say that I do support the employees in this community and appreciate everything they do. I appreciate the members of the board and the Budget Committee for stepping up and volunteering many hours to the community. However, as I was watching last meeting, I was shocked when the chair asked the council members and the Budget Committee if they wanted to add a warrant article for 4 new employees on the fire department. And everyone agreed. I didn't see any discussion at all whatsoever. I was shocked. Okay? And then he asked again, do you want to add a warrant article for a prosecutor? Again, nobody talked. I don't know if you guys are afraid to talk. I don't know. But I'm going to talk. All right? I understand sometimes we feel the need for more help. All right? And I'm not opposed to hiring new people. But sometimes the timing is right, and sometimes you have to look at it and say, can I hold off, especially when so many taxpayers have been hit with a large increase in the tax bill, especially during Christmas. $400, $500 is a big increase. $700 for the chair. All right? So that's a big increase on your tax bill, and it's difficult to handle. Yes, the bills are not due till January 18th, but still, it is due along with all your other holiday bills. So you're going to end up having to pay it. Now, I hear it said a lot by elected officials. Listen, we put it out on the ballot and the people voted for it. Okay? My question is, should you be going and putting it on the ballot? All right? I think it's up to the board to make a decision, a tough decision sometimes, and say no. All right? This reminds me 16 years ago. All right? I was home watching a council meeting when the council was going to cut employees. That meant that last one hired is the first one to go. The department head and his administrative staff never offered an alternative. I drove down to the meeting and offered an alternative. I was retiring from the department. The department head knew about it. The staff members knew about it. And I had announced it weeks prior. When I spoke to the council, they were all like, "You're retiring?" Shocked. Okay? So my solution was very simple. Don't fill my position. Keep the new hire. Because if you look at it, 4 years positions have been purposely left vacant. So much money could be used to balance the budget. Now, my position was a higher scale position. And to keep that money in the budget is a lot of money versus the new hire who's a lot less money. So for years, the taxpayers have been asked to fund new positions while departments run vacant to balance their budgets. Okay, we have new department heads and they are working to get positions filled. I saw that tonight. That's great. Okay, to see these positions getting filled and not using the money to balance your budget because you don't know how to balance a budget. All right. I want to thank Justin. I want to thank Mike. Okay. Last year, you started correcting the line items on the budgets. All right. To see that the personnel that are budgeted for are filled and not, just money in the budget because it's a bottom line budget. Okay. It took me persistent. I was persistent, wasn't I, Mike? Wasn't I, Kevin? And
Justin.
Justin.
That would be Justin.
Justin.
I'm
Right.
John. This is Chad.
But
You're running out of time, Dan.
You saw how things were done, and you looked for the change, and you guys have been changing it, and I appreciate that. All right. So having worked for the town, you see much more than what happens when I question. I usually have something to back it up. So I came to the council and budget committee about a prosecutor position. No offense, chief. Okay? With my concerns earlier. All right? To me, it seems like it's fallen on deaf ears. I went to the budget committee, I went to the council, and last meeting, you want to add this? Yep, everybody just adds it. Okay? So it seems to me like the taxpayers have paid for people to go to school. They've paid for people to go to prosecutor school. So at this meeting, I'm going to ask, all right, I believe the following needs to be answered for the taxpayers. In the last 10 years, sorry, Justin, but you don't have to get me that today. All right. In the last 10 years, how many employees that are employed by the town attended law school that we paid for, attended prosecutor school that we paid for? How many employees do we have that have the ability to do prosecution within the department? And how much money has been paid out for this schooling in the past 10 years? How many have a law degree? How many have completed prosecutor school and they could be utilized? So I watch and I shake my head many times when I see little objection or discussion on how can we do something different to achieve our goal. Several weeks ago, the fire chief and his staff came to the board. They saw a problem down the road, the aging vehicles and the replacement issue, especially with costs. So they brought forward a proposal, and it was something different. Okay, and it's nice because we have so many young people running departments now, come up with different ideas. All right, so instead of waiting and kicking the can down the road and saying, well, maybe might not be my problem down the road. All right, they presented what I believe was an out-of-the-box suggestion and a saving for the taxpayer. That is what we need more of. Okay, never mind how things used to be done. All right, because they've come up through the ranks and they've seen how things were done. All right, come up with new ways. So we have so many young minds. It's okay to do things differently. Sometimes it works, and it's a saving for the taxpayer. Okay.
Got to wrap it up, Dan.
Yes, I'm on my last page, John. And this is a comment.
Let the record reflect I've lifted the time limit.
This is a comment to the chairman. I want to thank the chairman for speaking up last week about the Lions Hall. All right, I think people want to support the building, but not a $3 million price tag. Okay, so use the staff, the talent that we have, and get the community involved, donating like the local company that donated the sign at the fire department and helped out. Okay, that's great. All right. I have to put in this plug for my wife, okay, because I have to go home tonight. The library, all right. I hear the budget committee question the cost of this, and that is great. I like to see their questions, all right. But this one is for her. She loves the library more than I do. I know that. Last year, they asked for extra staff. I spoke up against it because they had a vacant slot that was never filled. It's a bottom line budget. You can move money any way you want, and it just, you don't exceed the bottom line. The warrant article failed on the new staff member. So this year, they want this consortium. And I started looking at it, and I was like, interesting. What is it? So I look into it further, and this is what I have come up with. Having that consortium will actually reduce some of the duties currently done by some of the staff so they can free up time and do work, all right, with other staff members. So think about this. They've come up with a way, instead of hiring another body, paying another salary, all the benefits, right, Justin, that go along with it, they come up with this consortium. I think it's a great idea, all right? I'll tag along with with the sign on the front. I agree about the sign in the front. That one at the high school was presented to us. I think we should utilize that one. Okay. But when you put your warrant articles together. I think what you need to do is you need to prioritize.
Well, Dan, you can stay for the budget workshop and we can talk about this then, but
Okay,
I've got to wrap you up.
Okay,
You've
well,
you've gone way
I'd be
over.
done if you stopped talking.
So now we're done.
All right.
Thanks, Dan. You can speak at the budget workshop.
No, but when you
Dan, come on.
One thing when you talk about the warrant articles, prioritize them. Okay, we know the water is an important issue in the town. Okay, and we need to do that. Maybe we don't need this warrant article right now. Maybe we can put it off. Okay.
And you're welcome to come back during the budget workshop public hearing.
Oh,
Welcome. We're
can
done.
West Road, can we get that open for brush?
We're done.
I have an answer for you, and I will follow up with you.
Especially after this storm.
It may not be the answer you're looking for, but I will follow up.
Oh, please. Ladies and gentlemen, all right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're coming up to talk about the budget, we're going to have a budget public hearing. You can speak during that. If it's something else, if there's something else that's outside of budget, please proceed.
Hi, Christine Fitzgerald, Rebecca Drive. I'm a Leach Library trustee, and I came here tonight because I have several people ask why I do not support the Gimlicks. I have a few reasons that I would like to share. The cost of $41,000 per year is a lot of money. $41K is just for the first year. There's no guaranteed way we know that our cost will be year to year. My other concern was that once we join Gimlicks, who is to say that the library budget will not get a cut in the future and we are not able to pay the varying yearly membership cost? The fact that we cannot get a guaranteed amount we have to pay year to year is concerning to me. Once we join, we become part of their catalog system. If down the road the library needs to leave the Gimlicks, we would have to pay for another catalog system and recatalog the entire library again. Or what happens if multiple towns in the consortium decide they are no longer able to pay themselves? I would imagine that increases Londonderry's cost. We don't know what other town budgets will do and how that could potentially cancel memberships and how that would affect our price. The director stated multiple times that that would make the library employees very busy. Will joining in the consortium require the library to hire more people? The library was not able to hire a new employee when they wanted last time because of funding. After spending $41K, where will the library find more money to hire more people? There was a positive response to the survey that went out where people did say they wanted to be part of the consortium, but the survey did not mention the cost. I'm curious how many of those people would have changed the response had they known the cost. Will those people be okay with the library having to cut other programs in order to cover the cost of Gimlicks? The whole selling point of Gimlicks is the amount of books that people can access. I think for the vast majority of the taxpayers, this would be considered a want, not a need. I'm guessing it would probably be cheaper to buy each of the people that want to access more books, yearly individual memberships to additional libraries, than it would be to pay the $41K plus every year. So yes, I am against it, and I believe I have valid concerns and have the taxpayers' best interest in my vote against it. People complain about their taxes all the time. While this may be a minimal cost per household, it all adds up, and it could potentially be a lot more down the road. I would rather see that money be used towards a new catalog system where we don't have to worry about being part of a consortium to be able to get it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else that's not budget related? Seeing none, public comment is closed. I'll take a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Resolution 2023-2126, acceptance of unanticipated revenue for a highway grant.
Mr. Chairman, the state wants to give us $173,000 more than it typically does in highway block grant funding, which is used to pave and maintain our roads. And in order to accept that, I need the council to vote yes.
Mr. Chair, you want a motion? I'd like to make a motion to accept or adopt Resolution 2023-26, anticipated acceptance of unanticipated revenue for highway grant.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second on the floor. This is a public hearing, ladies and gentlemen. Is there any discussion from the town council? Is there any discussion from the budget committee? Ladies and gentlemen, is there any discussion from the public? Anyone on this item only?
John, as you went quickly, I just want to say thank you to the state for giving us more money for our highway block grant.
Anything else? All All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes affirmative. Motion 2023 passes, 2023-26 passes. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Resolution 2023-27, it's an acceptance of unanticipated revenue for fencing on the common. Mr. Wally, where are you? Coming forward.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We had a small little project that we had to complete down at the town common where we were using logs to stop vehicles from driving on the common, and it's kind of a crude way, but a temporary way of protecting patrons on the common when people are coming into park. We looked at a variety of ways. We worked with the Heritage Commission and whatnot, and the end-all decision was to put up a wooden rail fence that protects people from when they're parking. In part of that discussion, very nice gentleman of our community, Mr. Eric Turcotte of Turcotte Tree Service, stepped forward and said that he wanted to cover the costs for that, and I believe he's in the room. If he is not, you stand up, please, Eric. Thank you. And so, thank you. And Eric, thank you very much for, and as we've illustrated here tonight, everybody's concerned about the expenditure of taxes and whatnot. This is a safety concern, and Eric felt pretty passionate about it, maybe because made of trees that he cuts down and whatnot. But nonetheless, that was a donation for $2,490 for the cost of the project. So thank you very much, Eric. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, Eric, I've known Eric since he's been a little kid. He's lived in town a long time. Eric has helped the Historical Society, and Eric has always picked up his phone if someone needed some help. And Eric is also the owner of Peterson's Sugar Shack. He's brought that back to life. And he's got a few cows, goats, chickens, and I believe pigs now. Am I right? Huh? Say that again?
He's got his hand in everything.
Oh, I know you do. So I want to thank you very much, Eric. I appreciate it. You're welcome.
So, I'll accept the motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
So with that, what I'll say is thank you, Eric. And there's a lot of stuff Eric does, and if we went into it, we'd really embarrass him. And we're not going to do that, and we'll kind of leave it at that. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes the affirmative. Motion carries. Ordinance 2023-06, an amendment to the Londonderry zoning ordinance relative to section 4.6.3 floodplain overlay district. Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as you stated, this zoning amendment is related to the floodplain overlay district. Recently, the Office of Energy and Planning, which is within the New Hampshire Department of Business and Economic Affairs, conducted a compliance review relating to the floodplain management regulations across the state. These are for communities who participate in the National Flood Insurance Program. We're required to have these regulations in place to remain compliant. So through that compliance review, you'll see the red line document in your packets outlining the proposed amendments. And just to reiterate, the biggest takeaway from this amendment is that if we do not do this amendment, we won't be compliant with the NFIP, and therefore won't be able to have our current residents utilize the NFIP flood insurance.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see over the next several months a number of zoning amendments, regulation amendments, ordinances, site plan regulations, POD discussions, all coming forward. It has been somewhere around 10 years since we've updated all of our regs. And the council actually gave direction to the town manager that this needed to start to happen. We didn't specifically tell them what order to go in or which regs to look at, but we told them to look at all of them. So the planning board's going to have a lot of work to do, and they're getting things lined up, and we're going to start updating everything. So pay attention. We're going to change we're not going to change the regulation. We're updating the regulations to make sure that they're compliant with what's today. So with that, does anyone have any questions? This is a public hearing. Does anyone have any questions on the floodplain overlay district?
I got one question for Kelly. Is there a fine in place from the federal organization if we do not put this in place? Or is it just a matter that these homes will not qualify to being in a floodplain?
There is no fine. The consequences that the residents that are required to hold flood insurance will then need to go through a private insurer, which is extremely expensive as opposed to the federal program, the NFIP, that is less costly to residents.
Wonderful, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. Does anyone have any questions about the floodplain overlay district? Yes, sir.
I will be brief. Ray Preston, 3 Gary Drive. I just, one question. Are these, we want to be compliant with the regulations, but were some of the regulations we have not compliant, and that's the reason they're being changed?
I have no idea whether the regulations we have are compliant or not compliant. We have asked them to update regulations and to do an examination across all of our regulations. Do you have any questions about the floodplain overlay district, sir?
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what we're talking about,
So-
right?
I can answer. These regulatory updates to the floodplain regulations are typically done prior to a new map adoption, meaning the FEMA floodplain maps. So my understanding is that there are preliminary maps coming out, and therefore, to prepare for the final adoption of those maps, we should adopt these regulations so that we remain compliant when the maps are out.
So
So we're compliant as
we
we stand
are
today.
compliant now.
Correct.
And the ones that we're changing now are because,
Because I'm anticipating in the next few months, there will be a map update, and if we don't adopt these floodplain regulations now, they'll be out of compliance at that time.
and these are federal regulations, correct?
Correct. From the Code of Federal Regulations. They're
Yeah.
the minimum standard.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
sir. Anything further?
I'll make a motion.
I'll accept the motion.
Second.
Would you like
So
me
I have
to
a
read?
motion and a second for ordinance 2023-06, an amendment to the Londonderry zoning ordinance relative to section 4.6.3 of the floodplain overlay district. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. We adopt ordinance 2023-06. Ordinance 2023-07, an amendment to the Londonderry zoning ordinance relative to adding hospital as a permitted use in the Gateway Business District. Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So presently, our zoning ordinance includes a definition for hospitals. However, we don't define a district in which hospitals are listed as a permitted use. Recently, this has presented some challenges. We've had several conceptual discussions with developers who want to do the hospital use and develop a hospital without a direction to guide them in. So staff has recommended that we put hospital as a permitted use in the Gateway Business District. That zoning district is held essentially along the Pettingill Road area. And through a work session with the planning board and then a hearing with the planning board was agreeable to that and recommended 701 that the council proceed with this adoption.
Thank you. Any questions from the town council? Any questions from the budget committee? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to address the council regarding this item only? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, budget committee. My name's Ari Pollack. I'm an attorney at the Gallagher firm in Concord, New Hampshire. I'm here this evening for Solution Health, known in these parts as Elliott Hospital, and Acadia Healthcare. With me this evening is the Assistant Commissioner of the New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services, Marissa Henn, as well as Tate Curdy, the COO of Elliott Hospital, excuse me, and Miles Kramer, a Vice President of Strategic Growth for Acadia Healthcare. I'll share with you that Chip Hill, our architect for the project from Stengel Hill Architecture, had also hoped to join us tonight, but the weather washed out his flight. So he's watching on TV, and we say hello to Chip. I wanted to just start off briefly by explaining that we were at least one of the proponents for this amendment to the ordinance to allow hospitals to be located as an allowed use in the Gateway Business Zoning District. As was mentioned by staff, hospitals are defined in the ordinance but not allowed in any of the traditional districts. They can be allowed by PUD. That is the case in Londonderry, but the underlying districts do not allow that use anywhere presently. My clients are looking to develop a medical facility that caters to behavioral health treatment. Not all hospitals are created equal. Not all hospitals look the same. We'll do a little more on that later, but essentially the zoning administrator determined that this medical facility was best characterized as a hospital, and since it wasn't allowed anywhere, it was best to proceed by amendment to the ordinance. In this case, the Gateway Business District. Briefly, and then I'll turn it over to the commissioner. The Elliott is already on the front lines of New Hampshire's mental health crisis. Their medical practices, their ERs, their health system, it's already addressing this problem on a day-to-day basis, and therefore they're invested in finding a workable solution. Acadia, on the other hand, is the nation's leading provider of psychiatric care. So this is really a marriage of experts, local and national. Londonderry is well positioned to serve as a hub for surrounding hospitals, surrounding communities, and population centers. And of course, your Gateway Business District is a non-residential commerce district with significant connection to state infrastructure as well as arterial roadways. And of course, amending the ordinance to allow a hospital proposal does not alter the role of the planning board in reviewing a specific project in a specific site in the Gateway District to make sure that it can fit, function, and that its impacts can be properly mitigated. Your planning board or your local experts on those issues. And so we asked the assistant commissioner to provide some high-level insight in terms of the New Hampshire landscape for mental health and mental health treatment availability and services. And we were thankful that she accepted our invitation.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me. Marissa Henn,
Coming, Commissioner.
Deputy
We
Commissioner.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I doubt I need to convince this audience about the importance of mental health. I think, roughly 1 in 5 of us as residents of New Hampshire is living with a mental health or substance use issue. 1 in 4 of us is living with someone in our household. And one of the things I love about New Hampshire is the ways in which we're coming together as a state in a very bipartisan, nonpartisan way, and with partners, both public, private, nonprofit, to really be a national leader in tackling this challenge. One of the things we know, and my responsibility in implementing the state's 10-year mental health plan, is that in order to get people the care they need in the right time and place, we need to do a lot of different things. We need to increase access to mental health services in the community. We need to do all sorts of prevention in schools. We need to really help set youth on a course of getting the supports and the services and the strong beginnings. But we also need to realize that there are times that people in our homes and in our communities will find themselves on one of their darkest days when they need a level of acute, intensive treatment. And as many of you may know, I fear from personal experience of yourselves, your families, we simply do not have enough acute inpatient psychiatric beds in this state. Our levels of beds are below that of what is considered adequate from an OECD country average. And so as a state, we know we need to come together with the private sector, public sector, together to invest to get people the care they need so we don't have people, both children, adults, people in their older ages, languishing in emergency departments for lack of an available bed to get the care they need to be set on a course of healing and recovery. And so in order to make that happen, we need excellent players like Solution Health to come forward with creative ideas. We as a state are very invested in this project. We're very supportive of the location. We know Londonderry is a community that cares about people, cares about being part of a healing mission in much of your work from what we understand of this community. And we believe that this is an organization and a proposal that can do it right, that can do it responsibly, that can give people the care they need in a safe way, in a way that really represents their being a good neighbor to their host community. As a state, we are investing a significant amount of resources in this project, $15 million. That will not pay for all of it, but it is meant to demonstrate just how much we believe that this aligns with our vision, our strategy, in order to make things better for all of us, and especially people who are dealing with intensive acute mental health issues. So we're very supportive, and we would be so grateful for it to be located in such a caring and supportive and well-located community as this one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a couple of folks from the Elliott and from Acadia who wanted to speak to the council this evening. But before I do that, I wanted to just make sure the councilors didn't have questions for the commissioner.
Questions?
Not this time, thank you.
Anyone from the public? Questions for the commissioner?
I just have a question.
Yes, please.
Where is the closest such facility?
Yeah,
I think it would be the Elliott currently. So currently, as was explained previously, the Elliott Hospital provides a significant number of beds, both for adults and for geropsychiatric beds. As some of you know, the town of Hampstead has our only children's psychiatric hospital. So this proposal, and one of the things the state will do is we, by giving $15 million, of course, get to ensure that this project is done right, and make sure that it's serving the people of New Hampshire in the way that we all need and deserve. One of the ways is ensuring that there are beds for children. And currently the only place in New Hampshire that you can get psychiatric inpatient care for children is Hampstead Hospital. To be able to offer that choice and to offer an alternate facility with its own strengths, its own specialties, is a particularly big win for the young people of New Hampshire.
And is there a shortage of beds at that facility?
Currently, Hampstead Hospital is capable of serving about 65. Our census today is roughly 40. We've been able, part of that is shifting some of those beds to a level of residential treatment that's just under the level of psychiatric care. But I think one of the strengths of this project that the state appreciates is that the Elliott has a track record in this area. They have the partnerships and the ability to attract workforce and to also reposition some of their assets toward making this successful without, and they're willing to be a partner when it comes to not just draining the workforce resources of other community-based institutions. That's very important to us.
And how large would this facility be?
So 144 beds is the current plan, which would include roughly, well, I'll let the team speak to that, but that would include, as I said, both adult, children's beds, as well as those, that commitment to the geropsychiatric population.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you walk us through the process? My understanding is that when these facilities are full, sometimes rehabilitation is a condition of being allowed out of jail, when there's like criminal investigations and things like that. With the overpopulation or the great need for these increased amounts of beds and stuff like that, what happens to these people who sort of fall through the cracks if there aren't enough beds available?
Yeah, so it depends on the setting, but as you've probably read about and heard in the news, nationally we have a problem called emergency department boarding, where people in crisis bring their loved one, or they're brought by police or other members of the community, and they end up waiting for a very long time, sometimes days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months, to get into a bed. Now, we as a state are actually undertaking an initiative called Mission Zero to help get patients into an appropriate resource within 6 hours. We believe that no person who's in psychiatric crisis should have to sit in an emergency department, oftentimes deteriorating even further because that's not a trauma-informed, therapeutically appropriate environment. So many of those people, I can't speak to all populations, obviously those who are involved in the criminal justice system, but the vast majority of adults in our state who are awaiting a bed are sitting in an emergency department.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So you mentioned 3 different kind of, I guess rehabs, if you want to call it. You mentioned behavior, drug, and psychiatric. Which one is it?
Speak to that? Or
Yeah, we're gonna talk.
Yeah, they're going to actually give an overview of the type, so it's a great question in terms of the variety. But I think, again, one of the things that appeals to us, and as a state who's invested in this project, is that we're talking about a project that's prepared to handle many of those issues, even when they're co-occurring. So we know that many people with substance use issues, you can't really treat that substance use in a vacuum. You need to be considering all the mental health issues and the variety of other adversities and traumas that are existing in a kind of contemporaneous way with that person. So I think as you'll hear about the project, you'll hear that they're taking a very holistic view of how to bring in the expertise to meet people's needs.
Please proceed with your presentation.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to ask Tate to come up. One of the things I just wanted to make clear is that obviously this hearing does not substitute at all for the role of the planning board in reviewing a particular site application for a site if the zoning allows that application to move forward. Right now, we're really at that 10,000 foot level looking for the ability to bring that proposal forward to the first step.
All right, so said another way, we're only going to be looking at whether or not we're going to allow a hospital use. This has to go through the full vetting process. It has to go through design review. Plans have to be submitted. It has to go through public hearings at the planning board. Just for all of us who are here in town. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and the council. My name is Tate Curdy. I'm with the Elliott Health System. I'm also here on behalf of Solution Health, which is the combined enterprise with Southern New Hampshire Health System and Nashua. Together, we endeavor to embark in this journey with you. We think this is a historical moment. We think that we can turn the tide of the public health crisis that we're experiencing in this state. Quite frankly, I think our communities deserve this, need this. We're very proud of the services we provide, as was previously discussed. Elliott Hospital operates 2 inpatient psych units, a geropsych unit and an adult psych unit. They're routinely full. We experience almost daily emergency department boarding of patients because of a lack of capacity. The same story is told not just in Nashua, but across the state. What's I think critical to understand about what we would propose to do is that this fits into the larger ecosystem very specifically. It will not be the most acute hospital in the state. That will remain the state hospital. But it will be a tremendous increase in capacity for the region. And what we hope to see is two phenomenons. One is a draw up from the emergency departments to alleviate the boarding pressures, and a draw down from the state hospital, their lower acute folks, that would allow for increased capacity at the state hospital so folks can access the care they so desperately need, and quite frankly deserve. We recognize as healthcare providers across the continuum that there is real, unique expertise in the space of behavioral health. What we do very well, the delivery of medical and surgical care, we're deeply proud of. And we're proud of the behavioral health services we could provide. What we discovered over the last year in our research and our conversations with Acadia is that they are a national expert in what they do. And combining within the context of a joint venture where you have the local flavor, the local commitment to the communities, coupled with the national expertise, we think that's going to be a very powerful advancement for this field, and it has been seen to work throughout the country in 39 different states, which you'll hear from in a moment. So with that, I'd ask my colleague Miles Kramer from Acadia to share a little bit about what the typical profiles of these facilities look like and what we would be doing together should we earn your confidence and engage in the number of downstream approvals which we're fully engaged and committed to doing. So
Please
Miles?
pause. I have a question.
Yeah, real quick question. Could you clarify boarding of the emergency room?
Sure. So
people
the technical
understand
term, yeah.
exactly what that means and what that does to emergency rooms at that time.
Sure. So the phenomena of boarding occurs when a patient is treated and evaluated for a higher level of care. In this case, we're talking about behavioral health. A diagnosis has been made and a referral is put in, and it is determined that they are in need of a psychiatric admission. When there is no bed available for that admission, the individual sadly stays in the emergency department. The emergency department obviously operates 24/7, and it is not the optimal therapeutic environment for someone engaged in acute psychiatric distress, to say the least. It has an impact on the other services that are needed to be delivered within the emergency department, because resources are appropriately dedicated to that patient who is in transition waiting for a bed. So it is suboptimal for the patient, first and foremost, their families, the caregivers in that environment who are frustrated by the lack of availability and so forth. This project helps to alleviate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Again, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, my name is Miles Kramer. I'm Vice President of Strategic Growth with Acadia Healthcare, and Acadia is incredibly honored to have been chosen by Solution Health and the Elliott to be the development partner for this concept that we're talking with you about tonight. Acadia is an operator of behavioral health hospitals and outpatient clinics. That's all we do every day. All of our resources, our expertise, and our passion is in delivering behavioral health care. And one of the things that is incredibly important to us is partnering with systems like Solution Health. We have 21 joint ventures across the United States. They are clearly more complicated than doing something on our own, but we firmly believe that all healthcare is local and behavioral healthcare is extremely local. And so partnering with folks that are delivering on the overall wellness of the community within our expertise to serve this behavioral health population is what we're about and what this partnership is about. We operate in 39 states and we operate 52 hospitals as of today. We take care of about 70,000 patients every day between our hospital services and our outpatient services. Many of those are substance use services at an outpatient level. That's not what we're here talking about today, but that's part of our continuum and expertise in serving the behavioral health continuum of care. And that is really what we're here to extend on today. As Tate mentioned, there are services for adults and older adults currently within the system of care, and we want to expand that to be able to serve people of all ages in the hospital. So adults, children and adolescents, older adults, and while this won't be a substance use facility, people who have those issues that Commissioner Henn mentioned, that have substance use issues and behavioral health issues, will not be excluded. I'm old enough in this industry to remember when those were two different doors and two different programs, but that's not how the people and that's not how the patients present to us. So we provide that care at the same time, at the same place, and help people get where they need to go after the hospital. So in addition to the hospital beds that we talked about, there will be outpatient programs that are part of a hospital level of care. So people will come to what we call partial hospital. That's about 5 days a week, about 4 hours a day. And intensive outpatient care, that's about the same, but maybe 3 or 4 days a week. So patients who come to us that don't need to go into the hospital have that outpatient option. And when patients complete their hospital stay, they also have that option. So hopefully they don't come back into the hospital and they continue their wellness in the community. I'm happy to talk some about the way a behavioral health hospital is different from a general acute care hospital. If you've never been in one, part of what is really important about them and why we want to build in this concept a brand new behavioral health hospital is to create that therapeutic environment that is safe and secure for our patients and for the community in which it's located. Patients come in through a very secure and planned process. This is not a place where there's an emergency department and helicopters and ambulances coming in with lights and sirens all night and day. We will have an ambulance bay to receive patients who usually will come to us from an emergency department. They've been referred as through that process that Tate described, where a physician has determined that they need to be in a behavioral health hospital, and all of our services are going to be tailored to those types of patients. Patients stay in a behavioral health hospital about 7 or 8 days, and then when they're ready to transition out, they transition out with a plan. They don't just walk out the door. They are connected with community services, and their aftercare is a big part of what we're planning while they're in the hospital. And
So, sir, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I think trying to understand what kind of help you're going to need from our first responders, from local services. So if you could tell me a little bit about what you would be expecting from our police and fire department.
So much of what is being provided today to the two hospitals in the community is going to be extended to this facility, although we really seek to be partners with all of the folks that are involved in the behavioral health kind of continuum is the word we use. So unfortunately, if you have a heart attack, you might get EMS. If you're in behavioral health crisis, you're very likely to get police. Right now, when the police bring someone to an emergency department, there's a limit to where that person can then be transitioned, and they do sometimes end up sitting in the emergency department. So we will work with law enforcement every day as partners. We can offer training and community outreach. We can work in the schools. There's a lot of things that we do to be partners within the communities that we serve. We do not see law enforcement as a response unit to the hospital. We expect to care for patients that are very acute, that are in behavioral health distress. That's why we build a facility to take care of those types of patients. That's why we train the workforce, and keeping in mind that the only thing this hospital does is behavioral health. So all of our efforts are about that. All of our expertise is about that. So as opposed to a behavioral health patient in crisis in an emergency department, it's a great environment. They do a lot of great work, but it's not a behavioral health environment. This will be, and while we expect law enforcement to be partners, we don't expect them to be part of our security response.
The police chief's sitting right behind you. Do you have any questions? I will. The fire chief's over there. Do you have any questions? Let's just take them right off the top. They're here.
So, what I'd like to put on your radar is, so my job is to advocate for the citizenry of this community. All too often, we have these type of things come into our town, and it's a significant draw on the service that the community expects from the fire department. We get nothing for it. So we take on the burden. The taxpayers many times take a back seat to these larger businesses that come into town. So what I would ask you is to be a good partner in industry. This isn't the time for it, but we get together and come up with a plan to build a relationship to maybe get something so that, you know, we can support you if you can support us.
Absolutely.
And it will go very far for the community that, you know, I'm charged to protect and represent.
So I'm thrilled to hear those comments because we know that you participate in the technical review committee. That's our next stop if we're able to achieve a zoning amendment and go through the typical planning process. Couple of zoning related comments while we're on the subject.
Please.
The use is proposed in the Gateway Business District. There are other non-residential uses there that are compatible in terms of impact, traffic, and so forth. We compared this hospital use with other manufacturing uses that are there today and that would be of similar size and scope. The traffic impacts are significantly lighter. So on a resource level, on an infrastructure level, we anticipate that our footprint will be less intense. In terms of investment in the community, it's about a $60 million estimated build, and this is a tax-paying entity. So in terms of whether or not you were thinking we would have to negotiate a payment in lieu of taxes or some sort of a contribution, the good news is we're a taxpayer like everybody else and we're going to pay our share.
I think what the chief is saying is, that's all great.
Yes.
He wants to make sure that you get excellent service, and so does everybody else.
Right.
So I
We're
think
ready
that's
for
the-
that conversation.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much. That's all I asked. That's all I asked. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks. Police chief, anything? You got it. All right, please proceed.
Anything more?
I think at this point, we could maybe pause unless there are questions about the facility, the type of services, things like that.
The
Ladies and
only-
gentlemen, this is a public hearing. If you would like to come up and ask a question, please do so.
As somebody's coming up, the only additional fact I'd put on the table is we estimate about 270 plus jobs from this facility when it is up and running completely.
Thank you.
Kathy Wagner, 12 McGregor Court, Unit 403, 15 Parmenter Road, and 4 lots on Hovey Road in Pillsbury Cemetery. I think all we're supposed to be talking about is the zoning. And thank you very much for the presentation, but that's for the planning board, not for what's going on tonight. And there's a lot of people here waiting to discuss the town budget. And I just like to move the process along. I wish we were in a deliberative session because I would like to say, can we move the question or get on to the topic of the zoning?
Anyone else for public comment? Excuse me, public hearing.
I'm kind of confused.
Name and address, please.
Oh, Dan Bouchard, 8 O'Connell Drive, Londonderry.
What he
Thank you.
said.
So we're talking, this is an industrial area, all right? And we're going to put a hospital in an industrial area. I just have a problem when we start changing things in an industrial area because you have companies out there that use all kind of chemicals and everything else. How is that going to affect if, you know, they have a chemical spill in one of these companies and the wind's blowing towards this hospital? You know, you said you were going to be paying taxes on it. Most hospitals are nonprofit. They're not paying taxes. So this is a for-profit hospital?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So I just can't see why we would change and have hospitals up there where we can have, industrial areas.
Thank you.
That's my comment.
Thank you.
Anything further from the public?
Maria Barrow, 6 Bridle Path. I just have a question because you mentioned that it's important to have a hospital like that. Definitely, our state is suffering in great mental health crisis and overdose crisis. And you said that you're not going to be excluding people with overdoses or drug problems. My only concern is with the hospital being proposed in the industrial area, what happens to the people that decide to sign it themselves out of the hospital? Is there any transportation provided? Because Londonderry is not a big town. So I'm just worried that, people that need help but sign themselves out of the hospital are going to suddenly end up on the street and, get hurt or cause troubles.
That's a great
Thank you.
question. No one can leave a psychiatric hospital without a physician signing them out. So even if they want to leave against medical advice, that's not just I want to leave, goodbye. And nobody leaves with a best of luck, we open the front door. Everybody leaves with a plan. Even if they want to leave urgently in the middle of the night, although we would try to do everything we could to talk them out of that. If they are free to go from a legal standpoint, we would arrange transportation. We do that all day, every day at our hospitals. When someone leaves, they leave with a plan. They don't just hit the street.
Okay. Any?
That's regarding to zoning, because this is all I can question at the planning board. If we make the zoning change, is it just for Pettingill Road?
Yes,
Okay,
just for the Gateway Business District.
okay. And where, it's industrial, and so that was our mistake? Was that an overlook by planning that we never had a hospital figured in up there? Or why are we, why do we need to change the zoning to accommodate a hospital if it is an industrial area?
Mr. Chair, can we have her go over all the different uses as well with her statement that she was going to provide so that everyone will know that it's not just industrial uses?
Yeah.
Right, I know that, because it's what?
Everyone keeps saying industrial. It's not
Right,
just industrial
but my
uses.
point is, it has other warehouses, I think we're looking at that. So
Gonna answer the
I
question.
understand that, but
Okay, we're going to answer the question, one question at a time. Go ahead.
So the question of why are we doing this is we already define hospital as a use, but we don't define where it is permitted. So it's already in the zoning ordinance defined. We're not creating a new use. We're just simply looking to where do we put it as a permitted use?
And can you give me an example of a other industry that is close to the hospital that's already permitted up there?
So professional office is already a permitted use, and within the professional office definition, medical offices are
So medical offices could be built up there?
correct.
An outpatient center could be built up there as a medical office, as it stands now?
Outpatient, yes.
Okay.
you.
My questions have been answered.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to bring this back to the board here. Is there anybody else? All right, so what they're looking for here is that the planning board has recommended that we add hospital to the Gateway Business District only. So what I'm looking for from the council is do you have any further questions? Then what I'm looking for is a motion either up or down. How do you want to proceed?
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2023-07, an amendment to the Londonderry zoning ordinance relative to adding hospital as a permitted use in the Gateway District, or Business District.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes affirmative. Good luck at the planning board.
Thanks very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are still in public hearing. Folks, if you're, we would ask a couple of courtesies. If you're having conversations out in the audience and everything, we can actually hear things up here and it distracts from what's being presented. So if you want to take those outside, it would be appreciated. Mr. Campo, the floor is yours.
Good evening. So all of you have received various GL accounts with the updated departments. You also received a tax rate calculation a little bit later.
Yep.
I apologize for that. One of the formulas didn't transfer in. We had several changes since our last budget hearing. You see a decrease in the town manager budget, a decrease in the police department budget, an increase in the fire, a decrease in building, and an increase in DPW. These are all essentially personnel related, whether it's promotion, new hires, budgeting an individual at the wrong union is one of the reasons. That's why you'll see the decrease in the town manager budget. Other than that, we saw a decrease in revenues for interest revenue. In speaking with some of my banking partners, they have recommended for the upcoming year to be a little bit more cautious and reserved, despite how well things are with the anticipated decreases in the Fed rate coming within the next several months or 6 months. You will also see an increase in meals and rooms, which again, if you look at your the revenues that I provided you, that's where you won't. It's 2.5 million. I printed that out and then made the adjustment, so I acted a little early, I guess, which is why you also see the tax rate calculation. I also have included on the tax rate calculation, you'll see that we now have the loan authorization at 145,000, which is at 20 years based on the information we currently have. In addition to that, you'll see that you have the second prosecutor position, the 4 additional firefighters, and I have pickleball courts still cost pending, waiting for direction on how you want us to proceed with those.
Okay. Mr. Town Manager?
Mr. Vice Chairman, thank you. Just to highlight a little bit of, in terms of the changes that we made to the warrant, we went over the warrant at the
Mike,
last
can I-
meeting. There was some suggestions that were made, including to put the loan authorization in proper context, and so I've added the total amount of the project to that to try to underscore the suggestion that this is a pretty good deal. We're getting a $25 million project for that $2 million loan, plus the $2 million in ARPA money that's been committed. And then in terms of Articles 15, 16, and 17, those are all newly added since the last meeting. Obviously, the pickleball number is being held open, since I don't think we have a consensus on which direction the council and the budget committee want to head with that. But those are the changes that have been made to the warrant at this point in time. And additionally, for action tonight, I have back from the Attorney General's office approval of the proposed charter amendment as presented. That triggers a 7-day period when the town council can decide to either place that on the ballot for a vote in March, or not to do that, and so the council will need to act on that tonight.
Thank you. Justin, you were going to say something?
Yes, I forgot to mention there's also a decrease in the library as well.
Decreasing the library? Okay. By
Personnel again, as well as a couple other items still.
Okay. Please. Hi, Erin.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, Town Council and the Budget Committee. So, as Justin had mentioned, we did decrease the library budget as per request from the Budget Committee. They asked us to reduce our merit increase down to 2.5%. To respond to that, on Monday, December 11th, the Board of Trustees approved a cut of $30,671.54 from the to the library budget. These cuts came from many line items, which include salary, legal, water, general supplies, office supplies, postage, and minor capital improvement. Regarding the merit cut, which was specifically brought up, we did cut that down to 3.5%, and it was decided by the board that we would take the next year to explore the potential for additional cuts to the merit, keeping in mind that we stay competitive when it comes to hiring new employees and also make sure that we retain the excellent employees we already have. It would also give us a chance to update our personnel policy This exploration would include, but not be limited to, reviewing other town departments and policies and reviewing other libraries similar in size and population to see what options they offer for merit increases. Any questions?
Any questions from the council? Budget Committee?
Just a comment, thank you for being open to considering those kinds of things. I know it's not easy to hear. We'd like to bring your rate increases and your salary increases in line with some of the other departments. And that couldn't have been easy, so thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Who else? I know John had tasked the HR director with doing some research regarding the salary survey. Would it be appropriate to have you come up and talk, or?
Give it to Aaron. Oh, okay.
Okay.
I think
That's
that
fine.
was supplied to the chairman.
Okay.
Is my understanding?
Yeah.
Understood. All right. Any other questions? All right. So, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What's next?
So I think that a couple different things, Mr. Vice Chairman. The town treasurer is here, and I believe, like I said, it's ripe for decision tonight. Unfortunately, it can't wait until the next meeting because of that statute, and so the council does need to decide yes or no in terms of the amendment to the town charter that would revise the charter to have an appointed treasurer with the goal of being able to do a background check on that person with a one-year term subject to confirmation essentially by the town council.
So you need a consensus for this?
I actually need a vote for this.
Okay. We bypassed that.
Okay, no, sorry. I'm sorry, folks. I had to speak to the HHS commissioner because of something that happened last week and about communication with her, and so that we could have better communication to help people who have some mental health issues. And I just gave all that information to the fire chief, so I apologize for being outside the room.
So we are now on to the letter that we received from the Attorney General's office regarding requiring a vote for the.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what we're talking about here is that will we move forward with this or will we not? So we have the letter from the Attorney General who has told us that we can proceed. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this subject? This is a public hearing. We'll recognize the current town treasurer.
Kathy Wagner. I just want to clarify to everybody, because I've
We're still in
seen in the press, if you can call it that, that they're saying that the checks and balances are good and everything. The treasurer position is not going away. The only difference that we're asking for is that the person be appointed versus being elected. The town treasurer is still going to be there. And I just want to make that perfectly clear to everyone that they're not being led down a path that there isn't going to be checks and balances, there isn't going to be somebody there watching, or that, so I just want that to be aware. And all of you know what the chore of getting elected for is and what you got to go through. And it is a position. Fortunately, the state had enough sense to realize and change the RSA that it could become an appointed position. So I'm recommending you move this to the ballot.
Yes, sir.
She's the same height as me. Tony DeFrancesco, 1 Cheshire Court. Like Chief Bernard, I don't color my hair either. I will say, for this position that the treasurer just talked about, I think if nothing else, y'all hire people that are very, very qualified and are department heads. And I think, if nothing else, you need to listen to them. I think, if nothing else, they are your expert in residence to help guide you in the decisions that you have to make. And I think for that reason, I think this should be done, and I'm in favor of it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Dan Bouchard, 8 O'Connell Drive. Two things. Even though you make that background check on the person, doesn't mean they won't do something wrong. They could still do it. Okay? The same thing. My other thing is, I hear sometimes members of the council make comments that, listen to the people, listen to the people. Last year, the people spoke, is what I'm saying. All right? They said, leave it alone. I told you earlier, I think what you should do is take a break from it. You'll probably go for it, all right? But I think what's going to happen is you're going to upset some people when they go to the vote, and they're going to say, wait a minute, my taxes went up. I said no on this last year, and they brought it again. And you're going to end up with probably people like when they go vote on the school board, and they go, no for free lunch? Really? Those people just go straight no. And I think you're going to start getting people to come in here and go, no. That's my opinion, because when you get those high tax bills this time around, people are upset. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further?
Maria Barut, 6 Bridle Path. I would also say listen to the people. The whole community voted no. This should not be appointed position. It deals with the money in this town that will kind of decide about also where our taxes are being spent. And
Excuse me, they don't decide where the taxes are being spent.
But they're still dealing with our money. They're dealing with the money that
The town treasurer does not decide where the taxes are being spent, just so we're clear. They don't.
they're overseeing where the money's going.
No, they
and
don't.
it's us town people.
And it's not what the statute
Okay,
says.
are we
So
going
please-
to argue, or
please-
can I have a speak?
No, we're not going to give misinformation. We're giving clarification. Just because it's said isn't what it is. So we're going to clarify.
Okay, thank you for clarification. However, the people of this town voted to have this position be elected, and I think it should remain this way. I don't like what's happening in this town lately. There is a lot of things that are money's being wasted, like frivolous lawsuits that town's going to have to pay 15 grand on it. So right now, I think this position should be elected, should be decided by the people. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Oh, you sure?
Yeah, go.
No, go ahead.
I really do want to just clarify, because I think a lot of people don't understand what the treasurer position is, so there's a little bit of an education tonight. I have absolutely no authority to spend the money without their direction. Just so everybody understands that. I cannot build a budget. I cannot, just go spend money. I have to have approval from the council. So I just want that to be on the record, that I don't set the budget. I just do what the council tells me to. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jim.
Justin, what's our overall budget or monies that we handle on a yearly basis right now?
It's about $120 million.
120 million. So the treasurer not only handles the responsibility of the town side, but they also handle the responsibility of the school side?
We, on a monthly basis, will send the school their...
I know that this is a very difficult or tough subject. How many people did we have vote last year?
On this, it was 900 and something to
Okay,
800 and something.
How many eligible voters do we have in town?
About 17 to 18,000, depending on where the supervisors of the checklist are at.
So I think people have to understand from my position, not only do I have to pay attention to the people that voted, which was a very small percentage of the overall votes, I have to look for everyone's best interest. We're dealing with a substantial amount of money here. And we just can't have anyone take a position like this that has absolutely no experience whatsoever on accounting. I can't do that. For me personally, that would be a disservice to all the taxpayers, not a couple of them, not the ones that voted. But I've listened to the ones that voted, and I've also listened to the ones that didn't vote.
Yep.
And for me to sit here and just say, yeah, give it to the people to vote, and we get someone that has absolutely no experience, and they're watching, and they're working with the finance person with monies of over
20 million.
120 million. I want to make sure that we have someone there that has some type of expertise or some type of training in that area. And when we send it out to the voters, you could get a group of people that just want to get someone in there that has no experience at all. Guess what? I can't do that, and I won't do it. I will not do it, because I have to look at all the voters, not just a small group, but all the citizens. And to handle that kind of money and that amount and not have any experience, I'm sorry, I can't do that. That's bad business. And sometimes you have to look at this as a business, not just a municipality or a state or a local government. You don't see private companies having treasurers or having people that handle the finances have no experience whatsoever. Sorry, can't do it. I have to think of all the people, regardless if they voted or not. I go around town, I listen to people, I hear what they have to say, good, bad, and indifferent. And I'm done.
Go ahead.
Mr. Campo, you had mentioned in the last meeting, or the meeting before on the 20th, regarding towns that had appointed treasurers. I have two questions. Can you please quickly review that list? And then are you able to speak on how they solicit and obtain people, qualified people to be in these roles? Sorry for putting you on the spot.
No worries, I just do not believe I currently have that list available.
I think you mentioned Derry, Hampstead,
Hudson.
Hudson.
Yep. In terms of how they solicit it, I know that both Derry and Hudson, I believe, posted on the NHGFOA website as well as various others.
Okay.
And again, they list the qualifications, what they prefer, what they want. You can require a CPA, you can require an accounting degree, you can require what you need, or not require, you can request that those individuals are the ones that apply.
Okay.
So you have somebody with accounting experience, with a business experience, and not somebody that has absolutely nothing. Not, as I mentioned previously, and I mean no disrespect, not some 18-year-old that got his friends to vote him in.
Understood.
And, you know, we talk about theft of money and everything else, but you'll hear across everywhere there's an increase in fraud in different aspects. There's a lot of different ways to take money that it concerns me, where, again, that's why I brought it to the attention last year, and based on things that have occurred, I felt it was worth discussing again.
So, thank you. So, Mr. Chair, just rhetorical question. To clarify, the vote that is being asked to the council this evening is not a vote to where we stand. It's just merely to put this on the ballot or not, correct?
Yes.
Can I say a couple things?
Of course.
I've actually talked to quite a few people about this issue, and I feel like it's pretty evenly split amongst the community. Some people want to keep the integrity of the election system. They firmly believe that positions should be elected, and that's the way that people speak. Other people like Justin, and Kathy say that it shouldn't be elected because we could get somebody in there that isn't qualified. Many towns in our state, it's split too. Many towns have it appointed, many towns have it elected. So my position is, I think that we should hear from the voters one more time to affirm what they have to say, put it on the ballot. If it's rejected, then the issue, the people have spoken twice.
I agree.
You know, so I feel like it should be on the ballot. I feel like we're evenly split as a community. Like, I've talked to probably more than 20 people on this, and it's pretty much half. So I think we should hear from all the community. If you support this greatly, come out and vote for it, you know. If you don't, come out and vote no on it. And then we'll really know how the community feels. That's my,
Yeah. Mr. Chair,
Yes, please.
since I was on the council last November, December, did you guys take a position on this?
We supported it as a council.
Wonderful, thank you.
I believe what needs to happen is there needs to be, the treasurer didn't speak about it last year. And the treasurer is, and what concerns me about this is the finance director has brought it forward and the 14-year treasurer has brought it forward. And they're the ones speaking to the community. I think we need to listen to them.
One of the other things I just want to mention here is we've mentioned that this is the taxpayers' money. It is. We don't want somebody that comes in with an agenda to do something certain ways that are in disagreement with the taxpayers. When you're at that position, you're not looking to get elected next. You're looking to do what is in the best interest of the taxpayers. That's one of the reasons that I'm able to do my job is I don't get paid to give my opinion. I get paid to handle your finances with no opinion and provide you with the best budget that I possibly can. I think that you should have a treasurer that's able to do the same thing without having to worry about getting elected the next time around. And that's just my opinion on that.
but Justin, so what I'm hearing from other of the community that disagree with you, what they're saying to me is that the same thing you're saying is that someone's now concerned about getting reappointed, so they're gonna do what's in their best interest to get reappointed. So it kind of goes both ways on that issue. So I'm just hearing that from other people too. That it could
That's
go
fair,
both
and
ways.
I don't have the numbers on who has not been reappointed that currently
Yeah.
sits on a board and anything of that, but
I don't know, we pretty much reappoint anybody who reapplies, unless you've committed a felony.
So, no, I think we should let the voters decide. Put it to rest.
I just want to add something that Justin said. I've done it for 14 years. I mean, if it fails again, I will keep running, and I'm only running for the integrity of the town, because if I didn't have integrity and if I did have an agenda, I could wreak havoc. I could wreak absolute havoc until you took me to court to have me removed, because I am the sole survivor. I would be, if I hadn't set up things in place to protect the town, I could take away the stamp, I could take away everything and be the only one that can sign or release. I could hold up payroll. And that's kind of scary. So I worry that without this appointment, we are at the mercy of who is the most popular person at the time of the election.
All right, I'm bringing it back to the council. What do you want to do?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt
Move this to the ballot?
or move this to the ballot.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're moving this to the ballot.
Mr. Chair, can I make one housekeeping comment? Budget Committee does not vote on that. On when this comes up for the ballot, we don't make a recommendation because it's not financial, correct?
I'm not sure that's exactly right. I'll need to review the
Well-
statute, but I think that it's a little bit more complex than that. But I'll
Okay.
have that answer for the next time.
I just wanted to go forward without that if we're not supposed to vote on it.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
I mean, Mr. Dunn has a bill out there, to eliminate all that voting and make things life easier for everybody. I don't really completely understand why you don't want everybody to know what we vote, but that's another story for another day.
Happy to discuss it.
Not here.
No.
I would like to understand it. All right. Next thing. Let's see. What do we got?
Well, Mr. Chairman, the pickleball is the big open question at this point in time. It's a blank on the draft warrant. The council doesn't have to decide tonight what version. I think I heard the council say last time that they wanted to move a pickleball article to the ballot, but what size?
Well, exactly what happened last time is I put all these questions out there, and then they said yes to everything, and I almost fell out of my chair. but, you know, because I don't know that that's ever happened. But yeah, if people want to move forward with pickleball, let's, you know, what do you want to do?
Can I apologize, can I jump back in and go back? I found my list.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Barrington, Campton, Derry, Greenfield, Greenland, Hebron, Holderness, Hooksett, Hudson, Litchfield, Madison, Manchester, Merrimack, Merrimack Village District, Nashua, Pelham, Stratham, Swayze, and Wolfboro.
Alphabetized. Brought to you by Justin Campbell. Yeah.
So, all right, so we're on pickleball. What do you want to do with pickleball?
I got a couple questions for them.
Then
if they have any.
you have them for the pickleball people or for us?
Pickleball people.
Pickleball people, come on up.
Come on.
Yeah.
The PBP, pickleball people.
Hey, you could be called worse, right?
I just have a few questions that came up from the last time we talked. Did you guys have a place in mind, a location in mind that you were gonna, on West Road?
Yep.
Okay, and that,
I'm sorry. Steve Spaziani, Gary Drive. Brian Smolik on Molten Drive.
So, Mr. Dunn, you
yep.
have the questions.
That's right. No, I said one other one is the other communities that have done pickleball. I believe a lot of them got, I guess, community service. People did things. I guess generosity. Is there any of that you guys have looked into, like as far as people like donating their time or donating their services to help the event, help the process, or?
The answer is yes.
Okay. And have those been factored into the amount of money that you guys are thinking of asking? Have you guys developed an amount that you want to put on the warrant article?
Not yet.
Okay.
I can explain.
Yeah, please.
We had talked to several vendors about what we need and what we'd like to proceed, how we'd like to proceed going forward. And in some cases, they said, "Well, when you have the money, come talk to me." But I can't give you ideas about how much I'll discount or how well I'll serve you until I'm sure this is a real of interest in moving forward. Without that, can't help you.
Okay.
Too busy. And we're talking significant money here, by the way. If we go forward and have a green light, we can approach positively some of the vendors here, and I know, just based upon history and relationship, that they will react positively to our request.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Please, of course.
So given
Are
that,
you all set?
I'm all set, yeah.
given that point, if we put forward the 6-court idea, and then you find out that there's support from vendors, can you use their support to help do 10 for the price of 6?
Anything's an option, like you're asking for, of course.
Maybe.
So this is exactly why, Mr. Chairman, I think you read my mind. So there's some decisions that need to be made in terms of the wording here. You'll see that I made it about as vague as possible as it stands right now. Other options include saying for 6 courts or for 10 courts. Other options.
Up to 10 courts.
Up to 10 courts would be a good way to do it as well. You could lock in the location, but the downside to that is if West Road fell through for some reason, then you can't use that money at a different location.
So
Those
what
are
he's-
all decisions that the council can make.
So what he's saying is if we only ask for 6 and you get 10, we can't do it. The way the state law is written. So we have to say up to 10.
Sounds good to me.
But if we ask for an amount of money in that would only accommodate 6. If we say up to 10, but we ask for $550,000, then we have the money for 6, theoretically.
Correct, but I think what is being suggested is that potential donors want to see Londonderry having skin in the game, and it potentially, you certainly don't want to foreclose if you appropriate $550,000 and the voters say yes, foreclose the ability to go and raise the rest from private donations. I think that's what's being
So we've
suggested.
got to be
Agreed,
careful with the
absolutely,
wording.
yes, absolutely.
Okay. So what do we want to do?
So in that case, let's put it forward with the wording of up to 10 and an amount that definitely accommodates 6.
Yeah, I'd just like to know the amount before I agree to.
Well, you will have another chance at
Okay,
this.
clarify.
But this is, so, ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing. You hear what we're talking about up here. What we're talking about up here is the budget committee and the town council are talking about, going ahead and moving the pickleball question to the warrant article and how to go about doing that, what the language would say, what the dollar amount would be. If you have input, now would be the time. Yes.
So Mr. Cassidy had made a point of, writing it for up to 10, but providing a budget of up to 6, but that doesn't equate, because if you actually do up to 10, you won't have the money to do up to 10.
Well-
So that doesn't equate, I feel like.
We have to come up with the right language. I don't know what the right language is. I don't think we need the right language till January 11th.
That's January 17th, actually. We could go as
But the
late
next
as
meeting is January 11th.
Is January 11th, correct.
So by then, we have to come up with the right language. What I'm asking you tonight is are you moving this to the ballot or not?
Well, I think I need to know how much, though, because based on what we've heard from the voters tonight, they're very concerned about their taxes. So I think we need to know how much money you're going to be asking for before we move it to the ballot.
No. They would want 10 and
I know.
550,000. You need to ask these people.
Okay.
What do you want to do? That's what I'm saying.
I
So
agree.
I would ask you, what do you want to do?
I think before I can vote yes, I need to know how much money you want.
Well, how much money would you like to spend? You want to spend 460 or
No.
550?
What was the engineering?
The engineering thing was 6,000, it was voted
6,000.
down. But that was not a product, that was a just.
I understand that.
Dan, how are you?
Dan.
So good to see you.
Name and
Dan,
address, please.
Hey, Dan, we missed you.
Seriously, Dan, I need a name and address. See, Cameron over here has to keep track. He still has to say it.
I'm listening.
Oh, can we provide him a microphone, please?
Can you guys hand him a microphone, please?
Of course, here,
Is there a number? I haven't heard a number.
Up
I
on the
guess.
screen, sir.
on the screen.
Yes.
Okay. So now I see the number. I was sitting too far away. I didn't have my glasses on. So, all right. So you're looking at $740,000.
Well, they're actually looking at what they're saying is that somewhere in between 360 and 740.
That's a
I've
big
heard
range.
the numbers I've heard discussed here, Dan, are 560 and 490 are the two numbers I've heard discussed the most. So what I'm saying to the rest of the board here is what do you want to do?
I think it'd be better if you could narrow down the number.
Yeah,
to
Well,
try
that's
to make
what
a
I'm
decision.
asking.
To
That-
try
that
to make
number
a
does-
decision.
that number
Just
does
like
work
you
for
did
me.
with the Lions Hall, and you said we're not going to spend $3 million.
Are you asking me to give everybody a number?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, so what I'm thinking is if we do 6 courts and we split the difference between the 360 and the 560, and that's 460, there's always the potential to expand an additional 4 courts for up to 10 courts. But I think that 460 number, quite honestly, gives us skin in the game where we can potentially build between high and low those 6 courts. And if they get additional support from the community partners to do reduced funding for fencing and all that other kind of stuff, then they may be able to get up to their 10 courts with that additional support from community vendors. But I feel like that splits the difference between the high and low for the 6 courts. If we write it as up to 10 and then they get additional support, we can certainly give them their 10, but we're only giving them this money, the 460. I feel like that's a good happy medium. I don't know.
Thank you for doing that, because this doesn't need to be John Farrell's decision. This needs to be the decision of the Budget Committee and the Town Council.
Okay, my concern with 460 is that your high estimates were higher than that. And I don't want to have it be a number that doesn't give you enough to get 6 courts done. If that's your phase 1 plan, we should make the number be enough to accommodate that. But I don't think that we should go for $740,000 because, for many points referenced
Gonna
tonight
get
about
shot down.
taxes, I think that's too much.
Yeah.
I'm an advocate of pickleball. I think we need something for the seniors in the community, and it's a great project. I think we should aim middle ground.
Well, the midpoint would be 550. So if we can get to the midpoint of 550, you are at least still accomplishing your low point on the 6 courts and your low point on the 10 courts.
That's correct.
Okay.
And
Hold on, I got a public comment.
So if you had a number of
Dan, your name and address again, please.
So if you had
Go ahead, Dan.
if you said 500,000, okay, and you budgeted 500, you guys went out to Company X, and you tell them, hey, I got 500,000. We want to do 10 courts. What can you do for us? Hey, we'll do the site work for you. We'll provide you with the material or whatever. All right. So you got 500 to work with. So now you're going to make up that up to that 740 that you're looking at by getting those donations.
That's what we're hoping for.
That's what I'm thinking is make it 500.
the other thing that's not reflected anywhere here is possible grant money that is available
With matching funds.
with matching funds.
Understood.
And I mean, Heather's not here. She's kind of driving this for the pickleball task force. And it would come to about half. What we would hope to do is get, okay, let's say 500K. 250 of that would go back in the budget after the fact through grant money. It would be reimbursed to the town, assuming the grants were approved.
All right, so Justin, 500 is 9.5 cents,
500 is 7.8 cents.
7.8 cents. So 7.8 cents on the tax rate for 500. 600 is 10 cents? Is that what it is? I'm trying to remember what the new valuation is.
It's changed recently because of the new valuation where it's 61,000 per penny now, where it used to be an even 50,000.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Tony DeFrancesco, Winchester Court. Let's not lose sight of the fact that if a company comes in and wants to put their logo in the middle of these courts and pay the whole thing, that the money can go back to the taxpayers, whatever is voted in. So don't lose sight of that fact either. With all of these capital projects, 100% of them in the 44 years I've been in this town, the question is, what will the buyer tolerate? You put the price too high, they're going to vote no. Put the price too low, you don't have enough money to do anything. That's the hardest decision that you have to make, is where are you going to go with that? But in any case, don't lose sight of the fact that regardless of what the voters say you can spend, you can give it back at the end of the fiscal year. If you don't spend it all, if you don't spend any of it. So keep that in mind when you're making your decision. Thank you.
Has that ever happened?
So yes,
Has
so,
Yeah, it actually has.
so
Yeah.
actually, if you
On at
don't,
least 6 projects that I've been involved in the town. And
That's
all those
crazy. It
years.
actually has happened.
so depending on when we find out about the donation, we can actually make it a zero tax impact.
Of course you can.
If we find out about it before we set the tax rate, we're able to put in a revenue reflecting that, which then makes it a zero tax impact for the voters. We've done that since I took over in 2019, maybe once or twice. Definitely once, but maybe twice. I can't remember exactly.
I'd love to see that.
No, that's the whole goal of everything, is to figure out when we have extra money to give it back.
One
Go ahead.
more comment.
Yes, please.
If possible. This was designed originally with ARPA money in mind. I know the town is spending about $2 million on water, but that leaves about $300K left in the ARPA money that's federal money that must be spent.
So we're going to decide that on January 11th, decide
that's
where
for
the
you
money's going
guys.
to come from. We'll decide whether it's going to come from the designated fund balance, from the voters, or from ARPA funds, and we'll make that decision on January 11th.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Well, I think it should move to.
I'll come to you next.
No, it's,
You want to go, Ron?
no, great.
Oh. Hey, no, you first. Regardless of what happens, all right? If we put it on, we're not spending the money. If we put it on the warrant article and we ask for 525, it's going to be up to the voters to determine whether or not they want to do it. And from what I can see, you know, there's a big following for pickleball. So we're going to put it on the warrant and let the voters decide. The number is what number we're going to get to. I say 525. That's the average.
Well,
Go high or go
technically the average is 550.
Okay. He's the accountant. See? That's why I won't run for treasurer.
Okay.
So my only follow-up comment is, if you're asking for 500 or 550, you got a good chance they're going to vote it down. And keep in mind that if they vote it down, you can't do anything then. So
If you
wouldn't
don't
you want
try,
to
you
ask for
can't
something
win.
a little bit smaller to try
Ron,
to
are
assure
you
them?
against it at 500 or 550?
I am against it at 500.
Well, that's
But
okay
I'm
to
speaking
say.
for myself.
Then
I'm
say
speaking for
it.
myself.
That's all right.
I know the support out there for the community. The community does want this. So I'm just trying to figure out, we've had a lot of excitement in the room today about taxes. And this is going to raise somebody's taxes.
We're taxpayers too.
No. So what I'm saying is, I believe you should be asking for a little bit less, and then they might accept it. And then you can move forward and hopefully get the rest with donations. I just think if you ask for 550 and you lose, then you're done.
Right,
Ron,
it's
what do
such a
you,
big
what do you
risk.
think would be a good
Yeah.
number?
What do you think, Ron?
What's palatable?
How about 250? Would be my.
I don't know what we can do with 250, to be honest.
You can get donations on the other half.
Can we get 4?
And I suggest,
You know,
Sure. Hold on.
So backing it up a little bit.
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry.
I try to take everybody in order as they speak, so please go ahead.
if you go with 490,
you're at the low end of your 10, but you're not at the 500. It's like it's Walmart, they say $4.99.
Yeah, that's
For-
what I was thinking too, like 495 or
Yeah,
something, yeah.
so if you go for the 490, you're at the low end of the 10 court, and you could hopefully at least do the 6 court.
It's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
that would be
And
good.
that would be approximately maybe $38 in property taxes increase for each taxpayer, based off of the tax calculation. It's about $38-ish, give or take.
Per year.
I'm waiting to go last. Is there anybody else up here? And then I'll come back to you guys.
Yeah, so you've talked about donors wanting to contribute. Are they just not giving you amounts? Do you have an idea of how much outside, like, could you give us some sort of dollar amount of outside support that individuals are willing to chip in to help with this project?
To answer your question, we have, the big money is going to be in the site prep and the laying of the concrete, or the tar, pavement, whatever we choose to go, how much money we want to spend. That's the big spend right there. We have one vendor who's done this a lot around here, American Paving, and they've done and they gave us a quote, right? Straight up, here's the cost, and that's what you see up there. Of course, I'm talking to Continental Paving right now, and Continental has said, we'd love to help you. I'm not going to show you anything till you show me you have the money. I'm just too busy. I can't give you something unless I'm sure you have something for me to work toward. There it is. So, am I going to approach them and say, I have $500,000, or I have $490,000, and I'd like to talk to you about what we can do together working with you on this? Absolutely. But not till I can say those words. That's where I stand.
All right.
And just really quick, these numbers that are on the PowerPoint right now, they're not some arbitrary message or numbers that are out there. They during the last presentation, the Pickleball Task Force did present those quotes, so I just wanted to point that out.
This is accurate right down to the dollar. Yes.
Thank you.
These are based on RFQ that we got back.
Thank you.
All right. So what I was, after listening to all of this, because I really did want to hear what everybody had to say, even though it drove Ron crazy. If you want to be successful moving something like this forward, and your intent is to be successful, the 490 number is a lot more palatable to the voters. At least from what we've seen over many years of seeing people go and vote. It also, what's palatable to the voters is if the town also has, for lack of a better way of putting it, skin in the game. So if the council decided to put, I'll just use a number of $100,000 from the undesignated fund balance to it, so that what's actually being raised by the voters is $390. That's a discussion we can have on January 11th and everything, and talk about, doing something like that. But the reason I kept pushing everybody to a number is so we can get to that next conversation. So if that's palatable to everybody, that's a path we can go down. The 490 number, it tends to be more, the things that tend to be successful in the community is $1 million for something that they can highly identify and almost touch, like a road. Under $500,000 tends to be more successful when you're trying to do something that is more visionary, which this is. So, depending on what you want to do, that's a path you can go down. So I thank everybody for jumping in. So what do you want to do?
I'm good with the 490 up to 10 courts wording. Do you want a motion?
Well, I think what we have to do is we need to just, we've settled on a number. The town manager has to settle on language so that we don't get ourselves in a position of where we limit what we can and we can't do based on donations. Is that okay with everybody?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so everybody's settled on 490.
I'm good with 490.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
I have one question.
Absolutely.
Sorry. Just a reminder, what was your fee structure for users of your courts? I remember you guys mentioned membership for half the courts. Can you explain that again?
You can talk that.
So generally what would happen is anybody who's going to play would pay a lump sum of some amount per year, $50, $25, whatever it is. That would go into the maintenance of the facility itself. So hopefully and theoretically, the money for maintenance doesn't come out of anybody else's budget. That's the way Litchfield does it. That's the way Rockrimmon does it in Manchester, and it's successful. You don't have to do anything other than buy a net every now and then.
think about it like a sewer. We pay for sewer with user fees.
Yeah.
I'm
there's
not
a big
advocating for it,
upfront
I'm just saying,
cost.
thinking about it that way.
Yeah, I just want people to be aware there's, we're on the hook, we're asking voters for a big upfront cost, right? We're
Totally get it.
Right, and there's smaller fees down the road to actually use the service.
Correct. And it's
Oh,
really,
well,
no.
no.
that's-
Membership
That's a
service.
proposal.
Right.
They won't be making that decision at the end of the day. It will go to the recreation group. There's many more steps.
Yeah, it's just from my perspective, right? Big upfront costs, right? Later on, decision of how you actually manage that, right? It could turn out to be what they're proposing, right?
It could.
Right. It just makes me uncomfortable with the big ask from voters.
And the problem with that is we had a big ask from voters to use the soccer fields, and the soccer registration is X. We have a big use for softball and baseball fields, and the registration fee is X. So, I mean, you're kind of caught in the middle.
Right.
But it's a valid point, and it's an excellent point.
The fee we're talking about is minimal, and it's really to take care of the maintenance of the facility rather than coming back to the town theoretically, you know what I mean? It's, we don't want to try to task anybody with repainting every 2 years, that type of thing. Most of these places are self-managed. They run by the people that volunteer their time. So they go out and paint it when it's necessary, or repair a net, or something like that.
I understand. And what you're describing sounds like a really minimal cost.
It's small, and it really depends on how many people how many people want to join into this Londonderry Pickleball Association, or whatever it might be.
Of course.
Dawn Carver, 12 Preserve Drive. I'm part of the Londonderry Pickleball Committee also. That if that ever comes to be the fee, it wouldn't be for every person that decides to go use the courts. The courts will be open to everybody for free.
Okay.
It wouldn't be like that. It would be like some people that want to contribute to have access to the courts or a couple of the courts for specific times or something like that. So it's not everybody in the town that
Yeah,
has to
she's
pay a
right.
fee to use the court. The court will be public.
Yeah,
As
equal
far as-
access to
yeah.
that sounds great. If you want to reserve equal access, I mean, where you're talking about small fees would be what, like very small cents across the entire tax bill per person.
It would be nothing for the taxpayer. It would be people who are participating in the I want to reserve a court today operation type thing.
Yeah, I just feel like everyone should get that opportunity.
Oh yeah,
regardless of what they
any
get. They pay an extra
resident will
fee.
have that opportunity.
Well, it won't be all the courts won't be reservable.
Right. Well,
So if we had 6 courts, maybe we would do that with 3. If we had 10, maybe you do it with 4. You know
we're
what I
ahead
mean?
of the curve a little bit here.
Whatever. So that doesn't matter. There's no other money.
So, let's bring it back. So, what do you want to do? Is this going to the ballot or not?
I want to ask one more question if I can.
Of course.
Do you guys really feel comfortable that you can actually potentially get 10 courts done with 490?
With the bids I received right now, you have to understand, what I've received so far are estimates, okay, from a quote. When it gets time to doing actual bid and proposal, where now you're asking for their best and final offer, when you really start to get down to, can you lower your prices anymore? You've got 6 competitors, what are you going to do? We may be way below 490.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I have to have something to work with to get to that point.
Right. Sorry, Brian, I'm interrupting. If we went with concrete, it's a little more expensive. If you go with asphalt, it's cheaper. There's walkways in there that are 14 feet wide for access and for, tournament situations and things like that. That can be made smaller and to lessen the footprint, which would keep the cost down a little bit more. So we have some flexibility that we can try to tune after we have an idea of what we got.
Okay, back
Thank you.
again. We're going to the ballot or not?
Yes.
490.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you back. All right.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Next one.
Mr. Chairman, I would just ask, this doesn't need a decision on this tonight, but just flag for everybody's attention the way that I framed Articles 15 and 16, and I'd ask the police department and the fire department respectively to take a look at this language for next time and come back with any suggestions about how to better frame that. And that is, we're going to vote to raise and appropriate $162,000 for the purpose of adding a second full-time prosecutor to assist in meeting increasing caseloads and providing better victim outreach and consultation. That's what I heard as the justification. But if that can be improved, I think we can certainly incorporate language changes on the 11th. And then for the fire department, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $495,000 for the purpose of adding 4 firefighters, allowing the fire department to improve compliance with NFPA staffing standards. Same ask of them.
Any questions regarding those two articles, please?
We don't have 15, 16 on this printout.
There's two, so there is the,
in red?
what was presented last time, and then what was, what is being
front of that.
discussed, that's changed tonight.
So you have it in red right there,
I
right?
understand that, I didn't have it. Thank you.
Can I speak to that, Mr. Chair?
I have it now, thank
Oh,
you.
okay. Yes, please.
On the Article 16 for the fire department, can we make mention in that it's going to allow us to provide more substantial paramedic services? Because we're doing that to provide the fly car and staff that with paramedic.
I think so. I think we can.
I think that highlights why we're actually doing it. We're not just adding 4 firefighters just to add 4 firefighters. We're adding 4 firefighters to improve a service to the taxpayer.
That's a good point,
So-
Mr. Chairman, and I will,
One of my concerns of that is if we mention paramedic, we would then have to hire paramedics, which are currently at a shortfall.
right,
No,
I
that's
think,
why you talk about the fly car and the availability for mobile paramedics. You don't speak to actual bodies.
I think we can say something like enhance the availability of ALS service in town, or something like that.
Or for,
Emergency medical service or something, yeah.
you know, gotta get a defibrillator in 4 minutes. Figure out how to say that. Seriously.
Yeah, I will, they're all good suggestions, and we'll run it by, all these get submitted to DRA to make sure that they don't have a problem with them. But I agree that with Justin, that it may be a problem mentioning the word paramedic, but I think we can get at it a little bit of a different
Whatever
way.
the case may be. All right, so you all still want to do this?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, is that everybody? Everybody wants to do this. Okay, just making sure. All right, what about the prosecutor? You all still want to move forward?
Yes, and may I speak to that?
Of course.
So it was implied earlier that public comments fell on deaf ears, and that is not the case. Citizens came to Budget Committee and came to Town Council with questions, with wanting to understand, what we're doing for educating, what legal education people already had on the police department and stuff like that. We asked all of those questions. We didn't just say, whatever, we want to send these things to the ballot. We asked all those questions. We got answers that I believe the majority of us found satisfactory, and therefore we supported these warrant articles.
last meeting.
Yeah, we got those answers prior to our last meeting, agreed? We didn't, the implication was that we just went forward with things without doing our due diligence, and that is not the case. I think that the cases were made that we need a prosecutor. I even gave the county commissioner a hard time about the felony program that they're taking away, which is increasing the workload on our current prosecutor. So the implication that we didn't do anything or that we just went ahead with this is completely incorrect.
Okay. With that said, it looks like all these items are moving forward to January 11th.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I have not, now, I do apologize, I did step out of the room for the library discussion. I know there wanted to be a library discussion. So how would you like to proceed with that?
Aaron did come up and present to the council.
I did speak to.
Were there any questions that we need to follow up on, or is everybody okay with the library?
We were talking about the.
We were talking about this document that I have?
Yes.
I apologize, I did really have to speak to the commissioner. So I'm happy to pass this around. So after some of the comments that, had dribbled back through either social media or the local publication, it was mentioned that the salaries of people like the library directors, the assistant library directors, the librarians, the library techs, et cetera, I asked our HR manager to go out and talk to as many towns that would, discuss it with her. So she spoke to Concord, Derry, Dover, Durham, Merrimack, Pelham, Portsmouth, Salem, Somersworth, and Wyndham. And, I asked her to do this with very short notice, so she couldn't get a hold of Hooksett or Keene or some others. But to give you some ranges, Concord Library Director, $133,000. Derry 90,000, Dover 110, Durham 82, Londonderry 102, Merrimack 87, Pelham 88, Portsmouth 120, Salem 100, Somersworth 67, Wyndham 107. So I mean ours fell in sort of in the middle. So what I asked with Tara is then give me an idea so that I have actual real numbers and everything. And I'm happy to pass this around so that everybody can take a look at it. These are all public numbers, but it appears from what I've been able to see from the numbers from what she provided, is that we're competitive and we sort of fall in the middle. So whichever way you guys want this to go, and then ask Erin any questions you want to ask. The salary stuff and everything's covered.
I would think
about her cut.
I would think that
She
we
did
should
cut.
compare with similar-sized towns. I don't
Well-
think that Concord or Portsmouth.
With
But
all
we
due
are.
respect, Portsmouth's smaller than us.
They have smaller populations.
Yes, we
Yeah.
have about 12,000 people, we have 28,000.
And Wyndham has 10,000 people less than us and pays more than we do.
Concord?
What's Concord at?
pull it up
35,
right now.
38,000?
I don't know off the top of my
I
head.
don't know in a second.
Yeah, I mean, that's the funny part about it is if it's, that's why it looks like it falls in the middle. And it is up to the library trustees at the end of the day what they pay their employees.
And they did reduce their budget by
30.
100,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looked like. Taking a look, it was $100,000 reduction.
It was 30,000.
30,000.
I can repeat that for Mr. Farrell, who was out of the room. The board did approve to reduce the library budget to down from $30,671.54. That came from the line items of salary, legal, water, general supplies, office supplies, postage, and minor capital improvement.
I think
We-
I
I'm
think
sorry,
it
go
was
ahead.
impressive that it's a step in the right direction, that you went and asked the trustees to lower that merit increase, and they did lower it to 3.5%. I think that does put it more in line with the other non-exempt employees in the town. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Hold on. So you want to know the top populations. So right now, Londonderry is number 9, according to,
In the state.
in the state right now. They have us sitting at 25,986, although I feel that's a little low compared to what we've heard in the past.
I think that's a 2020 census number, if I recall
Correct.
correctly.
But we're just shy of 27 right now.
Right. So, but then you go up from there, Merrimack's 27, Salem's 30, Rochester's 32,000, Dover's 32,000, Derry's 34,000, Concord 44, Nashua 90,000, Manchester 115,000.
And Portsmouth is around 22, isn't it?
They are 22. I correct my statement before what it said 12.
So, like I said, happy to share that information. That is all public information. If there's any other further questions, I apologize that I wasn't in the room while you were presenting, Erin.
That's okay.
I have no
Can
questions
we get
for
that
her.
information to the trustees so that they can use that next year when they're,
Tara, can you send that to the trustees?
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
I have a question for Justin real quick.
Sure, of course, Erin. All set, thank you.
Thank you.
Justin, you had provided the new rate calculation sheet for us. I
Yes.
might have missed this in the beginning when I stepped out for the bathroom.
You should have two in front of you right now.
I do, yes, correct. And there's a line item that increased less revenues for the general fund. That increased by 200,000, or shall I say, decreased what we owe by 200,000. What was the?
So that's a combination of us getting our meals and rooms number, as well as I lowered our anticipated interest earnings based on discussion with our banking partners and them essentially telling me to be a little more conservative with anticipated drops of the interest rate in the coming months. So,
But either way, we're dropping by another 3 cents.
yes.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it's an increase. Give me 1 second here. I actually have that. Right there. So it's an increase of 198,000 in meals and rooms, a decrease in 175 for interest revenue, and then we also had decreases in various departments that you can say. If you want, I can repeat those as well. It's town manager, police, those two are the decreases, building, and then we had increases in DPW, fire. That's it.
But overall, you were able to find us another 3 cents
Overall, it
savings.
decreased by 3 cents, correct. And that was mainly personnel as well as a couple other things, as the library mentioned, legal, things of that nature.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else on the budget? Because I'm going to ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Is there anybody from the public who want to take a vote to close the public hearing? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes affirmative, public hearing is closed. Budget committee, you can either stay or go, it's up to you. Mr. Merrill, I have a couple of people who want to interview for some positions. Are you staying around for the Mammoth Road conversation as well? No, you're not? All right, so if we can go ahead with Mr. Merrill, and then I'll move to the conversation about appointments. So, folks, just so you know, Mr. Merrill has been very patient, and he's one of the longest-term residents in this town, and I am not going to make him wait any longer. So, let's move on.
Mr. Chairman, if you'll give me just a moment to,
Folks, for the appointments, Christina, Vicky, you're next.
so we're.
Go ahead, Mr. Merrill.
Mr. Merrill. So, Mr. Chairman, number of months ago, the council gave consensus to move forward with this conservation transaction. The purpose of the transaction is to conserve roughly 20 acres of land in the village part of town. This is the area of town that we're going to be talking about later in this meeting, where there are a lot of concerns about traffic, where the Technology Hill project is pending, where there's been a ton of development over the last decade or so. And the Merrills, Caroline Schultz and Ken Merrill, who own this parcel, have graciously agreed to conserve it. I know that they've been approached by developers. I know that they could sell it for far more, and they're offering to conserve it, frankly, for short money. I have an appraisal that has been conducted of the easement that the town is purchasing, and what the appraisal indicates is that as of November 1st, the value of the property before the placement of the conservation easement is $1.1 million. The value after enactment of the easement is $610,000. Therefore, we're buying $500,000 worth of easement. And the purchase price, Mr. Chairman, previously agreed to by the parties is $150,000. I think I have that right. And I should say Marge Bedoy, the chair of the Conservation Commission, is here as well. So $150,000 is buying us $500,000 worth of easement in one of the most areas of town that's most threatened by development. The Merrills are here. We have negotiated at length with them over the terms of the easement. It mirrors, it's not identical to the easement that encumbers, that protects the farm, the Merrill farm. And so staff is comfortable with it. The Conservation Commission is comfortable with it because they approved it last night. Was that unanimous? Yes. It was last week. Last week. The days are blurring together. So Conservation Commission is comfortable with it to the extent that they approved it unanimously, and it is here because the town council has to approve any conservation transaction before it goes through. I don't think hopefully I haven't missed anything. It has a lot of habitat features that are referenced in the materials that were posted with the agenda. The proposed easement language itself is included with your packet. And I'm happy to take any questions the council might have.
Anything from the council? Mr. Merrill, many years ago, I remember being, you don't have to come up, many years ago, we had a conversation at the planning board about protecting Merrill Hill, and we weren't able to do that. So I applaud you for coming forward and doing this and making this happen.
Yes, this property includes the crest of Merrill Hill, which, from everything we can figure out, is the third highest point in the town. It has a view of the airport, the Uncanunix, and Mr. Speltz tells me he can see Mount Monadnock from there. I'm still looking, but he says he can.
Any questions for Mr. Merrill? This is very generous, sir.
Thank you very much.
What would you like to do?
Move forward.
I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in the affirmative. Please proceed. Thank you, Mr. Merrill.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure seeing you.
Yep. Thank you to the council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and my thanks to the Merrills as well. They've been great to negotiate with.
All right, I'd like to try to see if I can knock out, is Vicky and Christina here? Did I get those names right? Come on up and say hello so we can get you out of here. Sorry for the late hour.
Great. It's like the school board meetings all over again.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to jump this forward.
Exactly.
Listen, the planning board was here till 1:30, like last Wednesday. I'm trying to beat that.
Hey, I was there.
Got him out then, thank you.
So, usually what I ask folks is if you want to introduce yourself, and if the counselors have any questions, we'll sort of go from there.
Sure. So my name is Christina Shamatero. Do you need my address?
Yes, please.
Sure.
15 Preserve Drive in Londonderry. And I am applying for one of the, I think, alternate positions on the rec committee.
Yeah,
Or whatever you want to give me, I'm
Yes.
open to.
No, I think it's great.
I will answer any questions if you want, or I can give you an overview.
Oh, I've been advocating to get a female on that committee for a while, so thank you for being here.
I've been on the Londonderry Lacrosse Board for 7 years, ran it for 2. I stepped down to vice president this year because I just needed
Lot of
to.
work?
It's more than my full-time job.
Yeah.
But I wanted the kids
I
on
know
the
how that
fields.
feels.
I grew up in town. I've been here since '86. I'm raising my 3 kids who are all involved in youth sports. My parents are in a 55 plus who don't play pickleball, but all their friends do. And everybody should be active. That's how I look at it. Get everyone off the screens.
Guys have any questions?
That's all I got.
I'm good.
What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Do you need a motion? What do you need?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to accept Christina into the Recreation Commission as the alternate.
I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in affirmative. Christina, thank you for watching how government works tonight.
Yes.
And please go see the clerk and be sworn in.
Oh, is that, do I have to
Yes.
do
Oh, no, not right now. I think the clerk went home.
that?
Within a week.
Then this week, I'll be there.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Vicky, are you here? Vicky leave? Vicky must have left.
Left.
Okay. All right, next item. Let's see, what do we got? Moving back up. I'm looking at Londonderry Fire Department expenditure request for capital reserve.
Gentlemen.
Mr. Chair, leadership, when you can say it in 5 minutes, why say it in 10? With that, Deputy Chief LeBlanc, take it away.
Good evening, gentlemen. The fire department is looking.
Father Turo always said, if you can't say it in 3 minutes, less it probably wasn't worth saying.
I can get it in 3. If the fire department is looking to withdraw from our capital reserve fund $148,261.09 for the purpose of purchasing 13 sets of firefighting gear and 10 full SCBA or self-contained breathing apparatus air pack setups. That includes 2 bottles, the pack frame that it sits in, a mask, and a regulator. That's what I got for you.
Is that 2 minutes?
Mr. Chair.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm listening. Go ahead.
When was the last time these items were last replaced for?
Well, the gear is on a constant rotation because it expires every 10 years, and so with us doing our due diligence to fill the roster, and gear expiring, we're recycling gear that is halfway through its lifespan down to every member's second set of gear, and then thus purchasing new gear. And with new people coming in, we need to purchase new gear. And then the SCBA's are due to the constraints that were on the grant that we received for SCBA's. We weren't able to outfit our spare apparatus because of the way the wording of the grant was. So by getting these 10 SCBA packs, we're able to outfit our spare apparatus to include the command vehicle, the staff vehicles. But what it also allows us to do is it allows us to have the regulators necessary for the new members that we are working on hiring currently. It will give us a few extra masks, so if some of them break, and then the 20 spare bottles are also an added benefit. But that's you get better purchasing when you buy a whole pack than trying to buy like a regulator or a mask. When you buy it all as one, you get it at a cheaper rate. So.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. Accept the motion to approve.
So move.
Second?
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in the affirmative.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you,
Thank you
gentlemen.
very much.
Thank you.
Let's jump over to Mammoth Road calming measures.
All right, Jim.
Oh, did
No, I'm done with it.
Mike, hello.
Mr. Chair,
Hello.
while the town manager is occupied, could we go back to the reappointments and just get a motion for the sitting board members that need to be
I'm
reappointed?
gonna go back to those.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I was just
I'm just-
cleaning up one little reappointment that,
Right,
will be coming to you.
I'm waiting to do that one.
yes,
Because for that gentleman that doesn't color his hair in the back.
correct, exactly. So, Mr. Chairman, on the traffic calming measures, if that's the agenda item that is up.
I
next.
jumped over the electronic sign so that these poor people from Mammoth Road can go home.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I could have, sorry, John, the engineering director, and Mr. Wallach, the DPW director, come up as well. So the consensus from the council the last time was, after Councilor Butler's presentation and the various, discussions that have been had, a number of them, at least a handful at this point, the consensus of the council was, something significant needs to be done. Councilor Butler presented a number of different options, and the direction was for staff to come back with a recommendation, a final recommendation. Staff digested what Councilor Butler was outlining as possible options, and staff is at this point prepared to make that final recommendation. It entails setting a number of stop signs along this corridor, and I will let the experts indicate exactly where those stop signs are to be set. As well as looking at we're uncertain, frankly, whether setting those stop signs at these additional intersections will cut down on cut-throughs, and reduce speed, and potentially reduce the number, thereby potentially reduce the number of accidents in that Grenier Field, Mammoth Road intersection. And so what we propose as an initial step is setting those stop signs. Hopefully those effects will result. In other words, hopefully we have less cut-throughs. Hopefully we have reduced speeds, and then hopefully we have fewer accidents in that intersection. But there are, I guess, additional steps that could be taken with respect to that intersection that I'll let them outline.
So again, as working from the south to the north, again, we were proposed to install stop signs at the rail trail. Again, so heading north and south, converting Foxglove and Mammoth Road into a three-way stop, converting Buckthorn into a three-way stop. So it's a matter of adding 7 additional stop signs out there. We've also looked at the expense of changing out the beacon or the lit stop signs at again northbound on Mammoth as well as southbound on Mammoth, and that's about an additional $10,000 cost on that.
John, excuse me.
Yep.
Is that $10,000 per lit stop sign or total?
Total.
Okay. What do you have the dollar amount per? stop sign?
It's about $300 a sign.
Okay,
By
thank
the
you.
time you get the sign, you dig safe it, you get the posts, everything, the soup to nuts.
All right, thank you.
Roughly runs about $300 a sign.
Apologize for
John
interrupting.
said he'd save us money and dig them on his walks.
Absolutely.
But the feeling, the feeling was that, echoing what Councilor Butler said, that something needs to be done. We do have a problem up there, as you said last time. The speed tables, speed humps, those measures can be reverted to later. But as an initial step, what we think is best is make people stop every so often on this road. I think that it will. Speaking for myself, I anticipate that it will reduce on cut-throughs by law-abiding citizens. Certainly, some people are not law-abiding, and they may observe those stop signs not very well. But the hope is that by taking a lot of the cut-through, by making it slower to go through there, more cumbersome to go through there, it will cut down on a lot of the cut-through traffic, which I think is our big problem. It's the cut-through people who aren't invested in the neighborhood. And hopefully that intersection, the safety there will improve as a result.
So the intent is almost creating a nuisance for those cut-through people
Correct.
to prevent them from using that and seeking alternate,
Yeah, I think
more appropriate routes.
I mean, that's the way I would describe it. That's the way you would describe it. That's probably not the way the uniform traffic manual would describe it, but I think that's a fair way to describe it.
You done?
No, but go ahead.
John, how many total new stop signs are you looking at?
7.
7. And
Two at the rail trail.
Yep.
3 at Foxglove.
Yep.
Which requires us to build an island out there. And then the 2 additional at Buckthorn.
What about where Hall Road meets Mammoth and Sanborn meets Mammoth?
It's not our recommendation at this time to install stop signs there.
Okay, and then you had also made a comment that it was about $300 per lit up?
No, per regular sign.
Per regular sign, okay.
Correct.
How much would it be
It's
for?
about $5,000.
$5,000 per lit sign. Thank you. I think that might have been a confusion for maybe people at home. And certainly, I think potentially lit signs might be helpful to really detract from running through the stop signs, but at $5,000 a sign, that's kind of cost prohibitive.
Do the regular stop signs, they have a white line going across perpendicular or
Stop bar.
stop bar?
Yep.
Thank you.
Are we able to make them extra bright so people can see them better with their lights?
What's that?
Like a more reflective stop sign?
Like a,
Again, it meets MUTCD requirements.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah.
John, I know it meets it, but do they have stop signs that are brighter that exceeds it?
Yes.
Usually they'll go with a larger sign.
Prismatic is the most reflective you can get,
and that's what
which is priced.
Right, that's what we're talking about, right?
Correct.
Okay, so are we all set?
We are.
I'm good.
I'm not going to use the word nuisance. It's more of an inconvenience, so that we want to send people in other directions.
Absolutely.
Okay?
And
It seems to make some sort of sense. So it sounds like a good first step, good first path. I appreciate, I know I made the statement at the traffic committee that we're going to fix this. This may not be 100% fixed, but it's a place in the right direction. So I thank you. I thank everybody for their hard work. And do we just need a consensus to proceed?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think we're in a good place. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Residents of Mammoth Road, thank you as well.
You're welcome. And I'm sorry it took so long. The funny part about things like this is you heard me say to the other person earlier, if people would just invite me to coffee. I mean, interestingly, I attended something, I don't know, a political event here at the Legion recently. And so some interesting things got said, and I forgot to say anything about this earlier today. One of the things that said, they asked the candidate, what have you learned over the last 8 years since you ran before? It says it's hard to hate up close, the loudest aren't the most. Said it's hard to hate face to face. So big part of what I say is just talk to people face to face. Dan won't admit this, but I talked to him this week, and heard what he had to say. He talked a lot about zero-based budgeting. I really would like it if we got back to zero-based budgeting. They said, what did you learn about people over the last 8 years? We're angrier and more pessimistic. Sort of interesting from somebody who's going around the country, right? They said, what did you learn about yourself? I am who I am. Everyone doesn't have to love me, but you can depend on me. That's what this is all about in community, right? I know who I am and what I believe. But here's the most important thing that candidate said that night, and something we should all remember. If we believe in each other, we can accomplish anything. That's what we did here on Mammoth Road. Is we took a little bit of a risk and we believed in each other and trusted each other that we would get to a solution. So for that, I thank you. Next item, electronic sign update.
Real easy, Mr. Chairman. The town clerk spearheading this, as I indicated the last time, has long viewed this, I think, as a way that we can interact better with the community. That's just the chief giving one of his famous hugs to somebody in the audience. A loud hug, probably picked up by the camera. $40,000 for one of these signs. That's up quite a bit from the last time we looked at this, but $40,000 to do an electronic messaging sign. There were comments tonight about how the sign across the street was pitched. I wasn't here for those discussions. I can't speak to that, but if the council would like me to talk to the superintendent about potentially, Councilor Butler.
Well, I think we have the chairman of the school
Yes.
board here. Maybe he wants to share some wisdom.
I can shed a little light on that board myself, even before you come up. That sign was donated by one of the classes.
Yes, it was.
And we actually went outside our own ordinances to go ahead and let them go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
While it was certainly promoted as a community sign, and in some ways it has served as a community sign. I think the number one thing I've heard about this sign being on the opposite side of the road is that you can only drive in one direction to see the temporary one we have out there. Otherwise, you don't see the sign.
Yeah,
So I think that's where the discussion was at.
And to Mr. DeFrancisco's point, it does look a little incongruous based on the, I don't know.
That was a $10. That was almost a $20 word.
I mean, the police department is one of the most beautiful buildings in town. The town hall's not far behind. I take his point. So, I'm not pitching this. This isn't something that I'm advocating for, hard. It seems like a decent idea.
Do you have your money in your budget to do it now?
Potentially.
Then-
I mean, I'd like to get a little bit closer to the end of the year.
Well, then bring it to the council and, if you have the money for it, then the council can make a decision whether they want to do it or not.
Okay.
So I'll add in a little bit of commentary. I was on the planning board when this went through, originally for the school.
Yep.
And we had actually found that because it's actually on town-owned property and the school is town-owned property, that it does not adhere or does not have to adhere to the town ordinances on the signs.
Which we hope they're going to change here in the future.
Well, I would like to hope so at some point, but certainly, it's not
correct.
skating around the ordinance. It's
That is
because
correct.
the town does not have to follow their own ordinance on
That
that,
is correct.
on town-owned property.
Question.
Oh, public comments over.
Public comments over.
Listen, I'll call you.
On the sign, all right, you have the police department, you have the town hall, you have the library, you have Central Park. I would hope that when you think about this sign, all of them could use it.
That would be the intent.
Yes, that would be the intent.
And it would have to be.
No.
And honestly, we'd have to evaluate where it goes and where it's positioned.
Yes.
So. No,
Take a look at that, Mr. Chairman, and bring it back,
All right.
if appropriate.
Thank you.
Okay.
I will. Thank you.
All right,
That's
I'll
been
go
my experience so
back to
far.
minutes here in a minute. Okay, here we go. I'm asking for a motion for the following. Reappointment of members of the Conservation Commission as presented. Appointment and reappointment of members of the Heritage Commission as presented in your packet. Reappointment of member of Londonderry Housing and Redevelopment Authority as presented in your packet. Reappointment of members to the Planning Board as presented in your packet. Appointment, reappointment of members to the Recreation Commission as presented in your packet. Reappointment of Jeff Penta as the alternate member of the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Now, does that cover the one that we need to cover?
The only thing is that Mr. DeFrancisco was initially appointed to,
I'll take that as a separate.
okay, thank you.
All right, so I have a motion on the floor.
These have all been advertised.
They've all been advertised, thoroughly vetted.
Yes.
The requirement, the required amount of time.
Well, and we're gonna address the continued open positions. Did you need something?
I was just going to instruct that
It sort of be interesting.
No, that Ray Breslin's application will be in the next batch, and that is coming after the ones on the bottom for the projected openings for reposting after these appointments. He will be in that next batch, just to provide clarification for Ray
And who was that?
Breslin's Ray Breslin.
Gotcha.
3 Gary Drive.
3 Gary Drive, okay.
So Mr. Breslin's, yeah, right, that's exactly
Okay,
right.
so I have a
it should not be
motion,
acted on.
I have a motion and a second on the floor.
Correct.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in the affirmative. Please, all members of all boards that are reappointed or appointed, you need to see the town clerk and get sworn in again. All right, so, Mr. DeFrancisco, what,
Yeah, my understanding is he was initially appointed to an incorrect, or not an incorrect term, but he was appointed to less than a full term. And he
so what's his end date now?
12/31 is my understanding.
So what's his new end date?
December 2026.
So I'll accept the motion to reappoint Tony DeFrancisco to an alternate position on the planning board till December 31, 2026.
So moved.
Hey. Second.
I'm the vice chair.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in the affirmative. He's getting this title thing. Wow, what did I tell you?
Just let's make it clean for the minutes.
Oh, dear God. Please instruct him.
Listen to your boss.
I am not the boss. All right, so what has been communicated to me is upon approval of these, there are some open positions. Kirsten did contact us and said that she'll be reposting those. Please watch your email. She's trying to communicate with the members ahead of time, so that if you have any questions, please respond to her. Let's see, what else have we have here? I skipped over minutes.
Approval to repost.
I don't think we need a vote to approve to repost.
No vote needed.
No, we don't need a vote for that. Approval of minutes as presented in our packet. I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Liaison reports.
I went to some very lively planning board meetings the last 2 Wednesdays, so we'll be looking forward to those in the future, that is for sure. It's nice to see development happening up near Exit 5, finally after all these years on that property. So look forward to seeing those come before the planning board again.
Anyone else? Liaisons?
No.
Good. Town manager?
Not this evening, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Assistant town manager?
Set, Mr. Chair.
All set. Ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind, as we keep saying, there's articles published out there that, that information is left out of. Full stories don't get out to everybody. If you have questions, come and ask. If you want a counselor to come and meet you someplace and you want to ask them questions, ask. Contact Cameron over here. He'll let us know. But there needs to be two-way communication. This stuff on social media and one form of platform and only, of publications going out and with one side of a story, come and ask. You'd be surprised by how much information is available. I'm about to adjourn. Make it fast. Yes, Mr. Merrill.
I'll make it quick. If you put stop signs at Sandlin Road on Mammoth and at, Hall Road, you only got 100 feet between the two stop signs. Give or take.
We're not
I
doing
don't-
that.
I don't think we're putting one there.
Okay,
Yes.
but I think the main thing is to get a stop sign on Page and Grenier Field and maintain the two stop sign on Mammoth Road, and that would take care of a lot of the problems right there.
All right, Mr.
And
Merrill,
if
we'll
you
have a
go
look at
any-
it.
If you go any, far south, probably the rail trail would be good, one on each direction, to let people go across the rail trail, but problem is that what we need to do right now, and see how that works in taking, that rail trail, that would break up the, the flow, people going too fast, but problem with the other three may not be needed, but I'm just thinking offhand. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Oh,
Mr.
and
Merrill.
thank you for approving the conservation easement, too.
And thank you for your
Yeah,
family
it
for your
could
generosity.
lead to more easement later on. Yeah, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Merrill.
I just want to bring something to your attention about the rail trail.
Name and address, please.
Jim Bouchard, Ado County. 507 Mammoth Road.
Okay.
Owner. I just want to bring a point about the rail trail. If you ever drive down Sanborn Road, Mammoth Road, any of those roads where the rail trail crosses, a lot of people don't stop, okay? I'm not talking about cars, I'm talking about people on bicycles and everything else. I was thinking, would it be possible to look at maybe putting some kind of a fence where somebody on a bicycle comes through, have to go around it a little bit and go back like that, so they're not darting right across the road. Okay?
Most places they are there.
Yeah, but they're the pillars,
Yeah,
And,
no, they're
and,
there.
and I'm just
There's a
thinking if they
gate.
can, if you have to, I'm going this way, I have to go this way, to this way, to this way.
I was thinking about making a little change and putting a tunnel under this Bachman Park.
No,
And come under Bachman Park via tunnel.
No, like Disney does it, Disney makes it weavy and stuff. I'm just thinking, because people on bicycles, skateboards, they just go right through. And I think it's just a matter of time. And now, yeah, you put a stop sign on Old Mammoth, okay, which is nice. I don't know, does the town
Put
have
a-
an
a
issue?
jump for those
you know.
whippersnappers on the BMX bikes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's there.
Motion to adjourn?
Just a quick question first
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
public.
Motion to
Ju-
adjourn.
No, just a quick question for the public.
Hold your motion.
No, just quick for the public. So our next meeting's on a Thursday, just so everyone knows.
Okay.
I just wanna make sure.
I was just about to
Okay,
say
so
that.
just want.
Yeah, no problem. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention. Our next meeting, in order to meet state regulations and to meet the calendar, will be on January 11th, which is a Thursday at 7 p.m. Now I'll accept the
So
motion to
moved.
adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.